is April 24th, and the board did meet in closed session, and we don't have anything to report out. So with that, let's call the meeting to order, and would you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, we need to take a vote to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Is there a motion? So much stuff.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, great, thank you. We will take public comment right now for items not on the agenda this evening. I do have two already. I'll call them out by name, and then if there's anyone else, again, public comment for items not on the agenda. The first one is Kira Scott. Are you here? Perfect.
Good evening. My name is Kira Scott, and I'm a senior at Truckee High School and the president of the Tahoe Youth Action Team. 2 days ago, we celebrated the 55th Earth Day. This internationally recognized event strives to spread awareness about human impact on the environment and foster appreciation for the natural world. Unfortunately, Earth Day in 2024 occurred under different circumstances than the inaugural event celebrated in 1970. 2023 was the hottest year on record, and each month in 2024 has set new temperature records. A large-scale coral bleaching event is expected this summer, and we're currently in the midst of our sixth mass extinction, losing species at 10,000 times the normal rate every year. At the school board meeting nearly 1 year ago from today, April 26, 2023, the Tahoe Youth Action Team presented our resolution for energy efficiency, clean energy, and carbon neutrality. Adopting the resolution or a similar climate action plan is crucial for reducing the district's greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating our carbon footprint. It's never been more apparent that the time is of the essence to act on climate change, and we want to remind the district of this time-sensitive situation. In light of the urgency of climate change, we'd also like to appreciate the district for moving forward with the sustainability manager position and continuing to communicate with the Tahoe Youth Action Team. We're very grateful for the meeting we had with Superintendent Kramer and Chief Business Officer Todd Rivera last Friday, and look forward to continuing to work with the district. Please contact us if there's any additional ways we can help, and thank you guys again for all you're doing. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is Adrienne Kimber.
Good afternoon. My name is Adrienne Kimber. I'm a mentor for the Tahoe Youth Action Team and a parent of two students at CELS. I'd like to share my appreciation for the board and staff's engagement with our team throughout the past year. We're particularly appreciative of meeting with us on April 19th, as Kira mentioned. And we're also looking forward to, we're very appreciative of the board's approval of a full-time sustainability manager, and we're very much looking forward to working with that person on developing a sustainability plan and greenhouse gas audit. We hope that that can get started as soon as possible. I also just wanted to share a couple of recent actions that the team has taken. The first is on March 24th, the Youth Action Team staged a snowman protest at the Eagle Monument in downtown Truckee. The team turned out and made over 100 snow people, each holding its own protest flag bearing messages like "Born and Enrolled Here, Don't Want to Move," "Carbon pricing is a brilliant solution to climate change," and "I'm snowverwhelmed by climate change." The goal is to keep the issue of climate change in the public awareness and educate people about the impacts of climate change in the Sierra, and the event was covered in the Sierra Sun. Second, the team will be holding a voter registration drive this coming week at Truckee High. This is the first time we've undertaken this, and we're very appreciative of the support of Vice Principal Estabrook and the administration, as well as student success teachers who are allowing us to come in and help students register during class time. So we're hoping for a successful drive, and we're really excited about promoting civic participation with our young voters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay. Okay, Superintendent Kramer.
And next, we're going to invite up Principal Jeff Santos to give us a school showcase about Sierra High School and our alternative programs. Mr. Santos.
All right, can you hear me all? Yep. All right, perfect. Good evening. Board members, Superintendent Kramer, thank you. Cabinet members and audience folks, appreciate you being here. I do have to admit that it is a little exciting to talk about the showcase at Sierra High School, but I'm also seeing all of the Scotty Lapp Foundation folks here as well, so I know I'm standing in the way of that presentation as well, but I think that you're going to get a lot out of this tonight as well. So that being said, let me dive right into it. So I'm Jeff Santos, the principal of our alternative programs in the district, and we have 3 programs that I'm going to highlight and showcase tonight. Sierra High School, which is our continuation high school, Coldstream Alternative, which is our independent study program, as well as Truckee River School, which used to be our community school, which I'll cover and talk about that here in a little bit. So that being said, I do want to recognize that we do have some of our staff members in the audience tonight. It's without them that our students wouldn't receive the amazing support and services that they're getting in all of our programs. I'm going to put them on the spot, but if you work in alt ed for TTUSD, if you could just raise your hands, please. Yes. Makes it easy coming to work each day, and you get to work with awesome people like that, as well as our students. So just wanted to recognize them. So let's go. Oh, and I do have to apologize. The font, when you work on it on your laptop, you don't really realize when it's on a big screen. So it's probably hard to see. So binoculars if you've got them. But that being said, why alternative education? The way we kind of view it is, the goal of high school, goal of school, is to prepare students for life after high school, to obtain a diploma so they're ready for adulthood. Alternative education has the same goal, except we're in a different lane at times, heading in the same direction as our other high schools. So some students just may not be into the scene, if you will, when it comes to a comprehensive high school site. It might be overwhelming, whether it's class sizes, whether it's the academic components, whether it's peer social emotional challenges and so forth. So we want to open up doors for students to have a different pathway to get to the same goal as our other schools in our district. So that's why we have alternative education. One of the things that we do is open up doors. We own the students that come through our doors. It doesn't matter what challenges that they may have. We want to own that and work through that and help them cross that finish line as well. So with that, let me go through. So one of the things that we do say is that we are small and mighty. We might have small numbers, we might have smaller enrollment than a traditional high school, but we pack a punch when it comes to the services that we provide for our students and not giving up on that. We're flexible when it comes to the way that we deliver instruction, when it comes to the way that services are delivered, and we're also those that provide those resources for students, even if it's social emotional help, academic help, and so forth. So let me dive into our first alternative school, and that is Sierra High School. Sierra High School is what we call a continuation high school, and that term was set by the state based on students that need an alternative pathway. But not any student can go to Sierra High School. You have to be 16 years of age or older. You don't have to be credit deficient, despite the fact that a lot of our students have credit deficiencies or they're not on track to graduate from Truckee High or North Tahoe High School. But again, our focus is to get them across that finish line, but they do have to be 16 years of age or older in order to attend the school. Sierra High School has been in effect for probably 1979, I believe, is the starting date. So do the math, it's about 200 years, right? No, I'm just kidding. For a long time. And part of that is we have to go through the accreditation process, and that is where schools have to meet certain expectations in order to have the status to teach students and issue diplomas. And so previous administration as well as staff did a fabulous job with getting that set up. And we actually are on a 6-year accreditation cycle, which we're halfway through that right now, 3 years. So kudos to them. What does that mean for the rest of the folks in the room? That means that we can continue to educate students and provide diplomas for students as well. The other thing that we actually have is a model school award, meaning that in the state of California, schools can be issued an award for going above and beyond in the scope of education, and Sierra High School has met that for several years in a row. And just a little over 30 schools in the state received this award, and we are one of those recipients of the award. And one of the reasons that we actually have that is our next initiative is our reading initiative. Miss Zapata is in the room tonight. She is our English teacher, and she is, she's the stoke in reading and literature. She came forward and says, you know what, we're going to do this. And Sierra High School has taken off the last several years with this reading initiative. It is common to come to our school site between 8 and 8:30 and see students and staff reading books. You'd be surprised how many students arrive and they're like, reading, what's that? I don't really like that. I don't really do that. When they leave, they're like, I like reading, and yeah, this is definitely something that I'm pretty pumped about. So kudos to Mrs. Zapata again for really pushing this through, and this helps launch us into accreditation and our Model Schools Award. The other thing that we have is our STEP program. If you're not familiar with that, that is our infant and toddler and teen parenting program. And we do have teen parents on our campus that receive these services, and it's a nice collaboration family network that we have together because they're on our campus, so we get to exchange supports, if you will. So definitely want to give thanks to the staff, the STEP staff, for all they provide for our youth at Sierra High School. Yeah. I won't get into the staffing part. I'll let you kind of get into that later. But in short, we've got a whole team of folks that are around the clock helping support our students at Sierra High School. As far as, go to my next slide here, sorry. As far as enrollment, here's some data for you. So currently we have 43 students. And you'd be surprised, 43 students doesn't seem like a whole lot. When you're individually focusing on each student and their unique needs, it becomes, there's a lot going on. So 43 students currently. Right now we do serve students 10th grade through 12th grade. English learners, we have roughly, and I can't read my own font here, 9% of our students are considered English learners. 65% of our students are Hispanic. Are redesignated, 42% of our students have been redesignated. And roughly 5% of our students are long-term English learners, and then 48% are English only. So we tend to see a heavy emphasis population of our Hispanic youth, especially those that speak Spanish and bilingual, and they're doing phenomenal. They're doing great, and we embrace that at our school. The other thing that we have is 20% of our students are on IEPs. This, I think, compared to other schools in the state, it's about what you're going to find in an alternative education setting as far as students on IEPs. A large majority of our students are chronically truant and absent. Well over 60% of our students meet the eligibility for that or are on SARB contracts. So that's one of our goals, is really trying to work on getting students to school, staying at school, and that is one of our goals that we are pursuing. Reasons for referrals: credit deficiencies, discipline challenges, attendance challenges, and so forth. But again, we embrace all of that. One thing I do want to note, we've had well over 30 referrals this year to Sierra High School, and just a handful did not actually attend. But we take students. In fact, I just enrolled one today. So some celebrations. There's plenty to celebrate, but here's just a quick sort of list. One, we have amazing students. I can't say that enough. People think alternative education and think of the students that go to Sierra High School, and they're great kids. Hardworking, caring students, giving students. They persevere despite the challenges that they might be facing in life. We have amazing staff, which I've already kind of highlighted, but I want to celebrate those that work with our students. Our school counselor, Ms. Lampley, does a great job with our wellness supports, SEL supports as well. I don't think she's here tonight, but unfortunately, this is her last year with us this year. So it's a little bit of a sad tribute to her as well. Students have closer connections with staff, smaller class sizes, and so forth. These are some of the examples of celebrations, as well as our partnership with our 2 local high schools that feed students into us. We have great relations with them. We're in constant communication back and forth regarding students that they would like to refer to Sierra High School. And I've already mentioned STEP a little bit, but one thing I do want to say when you think of alternative education in Sierra High School, we don't lower expectations, we raise the expectations, and we want students to exceed those expectations. So we don't lower the bar. If it's challenging, all right, what's getting in the way? What's the barrier or the obstacle? Let's help remove that. And then opportunities, I would say attendance is probably our number one. We're working on ways to get students to school, to stay at school, and we're pulling out all the creative ways that we can do that. Some are successful, some aren't. It's a trial and error, but that is one of our main goals. And then the other is CTE, or Career Technical Education. Educational Services has done a great job of really trying to push this more, and that is something that we want to embrace as well, looking at different career paths and different opportunities for our students for life after high school. And there's a picture of first day of school. You're like, there's not a lot of students. Yeah, we start small and then we build. So it wouldn't be a showcase without showcasing some pictures, so I do have to show a couple. In the upper left-hand corner, all of our students did a Shakespeare play. They spent 3 days, 2 of those days practicing, and then 1 day of actual full dress. And there they are. Yeah, they look like warriors, and they kind of are. And they had a blast. Again, thanks to Ms. Zapata for her efforts in the English program to really push and promote this, and local actors and actresses that help support it as well. There's a student in the middle. We worked with Cast Hope, which is a nonprofit on river ecology and fly fishing, and basically around collaboration and teamwork. Pulled out a healthy trout there, one of our students. We also work with Gateway Mountain Center, which is the right-hand corner, where we have students working on a cooking and baking activity, but working as a team. The lower left, we bring in a guest artist to work on art projects with our students, which we can add to the collection here at some point. And then the lower right, yes, we have staff versus students games. This was volleyball. The students thought that they crushed it, but unfortunately the adults and the staff, we beat them. But for those that hadn't played volleyball in a long time, they actually did pretty well. We have soccer coming up this Friday. Indoor soccer, 4 goals. It's going to be mayhem. It'll be fun. So I wasn't able to get students here tonight, but I did manage to get some quotes from a few of the students, and I'm not going to read all of them, but I'd like to read a couple just to kind of share some of their experiences. So one says, Sierra High School is way calmer than my previous school. The work is at my level and pace. There are fewer students, and more help from teachers really helps me. I feel successful at school. And another said, I feel like I belong at school because of my positive connections with teachers. I have experienced new things at Sierra High. I never thought I'd be on stage performing Shakespeare. And I think that goes for most of the students that they did that. So, and I encourage you to read the other quotes later on. So next we have Coldstream Alternative. I'm sure some of the students in here might have Coldstream classes, not sure. Coldstream is an independent study program where student athletes, for the most part, take 1 to 2 classes so they can train and participate in sports and athletics. Students meet once a week with their teacher, and they're given 5 days worth of work to complete, and then they turn it in the following week. It's a pretty tight ship when it comes to attendance and making sure that you get your work done. But we have amazing staff. They're flexible, they're creative, they're funny, they're fun, their lessons are engaging. So I can't say enough about the Coldstream staff as well. We have 4 teachers that teach core classes, some electives, and yes, Francais or French. Maybe I said that right, I don't know. Some data, we have 6 full-time Coldstream students, and what does that mean? That means that we have students that do not take any classes at North Tahoe High or Truckee High. It's purely Coldstream. They're going to graduate with us. They're going to get their diploma, just like any other high school. We have 72 students taking single classes with Coldstream. And you can see from the numbers, 64 from North Tahoe High School, 18 from Truckee High, and 2 from Sierra High School. And why like so many more at North Tahoe High School, you're probably asking. It's been a well-established ski academy there for quite a while. And I think based on that, North Tahoe has actually brought over a couple of their own teachers to provide more Coldstream support. So we have 6 teachers supporting students at North Tahoe High School. But don't fret if you're at Truckee High School. We are looking to expand. In fact, we just met with their school counselors, talking about ways to expand opportunities for Truckee High School students as well. And then we do have 12 students that are taking more than one class, so they might be doubled up on classes as well. And there are 3 of our teachers. And no, the student is not a teacher, but I'm guessing going to Gonzaga as the Zags there. So celebrating that success probably. So some celebrations again. Coldstream students, just my time working with all of our students, especially Coldstream, amazing students, amazing staff. Like I said, creative, fun, supportive. One opportunity, though, that we're really looking to expand is a way to, as you can see from the numbers, there's a need out there for independent study, and so ways that we potentially can expand and enhance those services, whether it's looking at virtual options, bringing on more staff, which I realize is not always easy in these times. So, but those are some opportunities that we're looking for. And it wouldn't be, I have to show some pictures. You can see some science lessons from Mr. Zapata's science. Whoops, my bad. You can't see my slide. There you are. Some science activities from Mr. Zapata's science class. We have Miss Parlett, who is our English teacher. There's some literacy reading going on with some of our students and the novels that they are planning to read or have read. Dress up time, and no, there is no dress up time for graduation. That is a legit cap and gown and graduate celebrating finishing that. And then yes, there are the three of our 4 teachers in the right corner who love to have fun and dress up at Halloween. And I can't remember Bob's Burger character, but if you like that show, I'm sure you recognize the character in the right corner there, if I'm saying that right. Again, I didn't have any Coldstream students. Maybe there are some out here, I don't know, but I actually got a couple of quotes that I'd like to read. Coldstream has allowed me to work at a pace that helps me succeed in my education, and having the ability to collaborate with my teachers one-on-one is helpful and elevates my learning capability. Also, Coldstream has truly helped me with my confidence. My teacher focus is fully on me, and their feedback is personal to my educational needs. Well, last but not least, we have the Truckee River program, and if you know Truckee River program, some people refer to it as, yes, Mike DePue's program, or Mike DePue's class. We actually operated this, or took this program back from PCOE in July 2022, and the reason is that all of the students in that class are actually our resident students. So what better way to support students is let's own our own program and let's work through it. So we've been serving youth, the 9th grade through 12th grade. Every once in a while we will have an 8th grader, but it's sometimes difficult when you have an 8th grader with a 12th grader in the same classroom. So we're really selective with how we go about doing that. But the goal is rehabilitation, so we can have students return back to their home high school, because the majority of the students are referred to Truckee River for discipline reasons, unfortunately. But just like our other programs, they still are good kids with good hearts, may make bad choices, but we're really looking at ways to rehabilitate and get them back to their home high school. They have a mixed bag of challenges, whether it's mental health, social, emotional, family dynamics, environmental challenges, cognitive or academic. So we're there to support all of those students. Staffing-wise, we do have Mike as our teacher, 2 instructional assistants. I think Anna's here tonight as well. We have a full day counselor, a full day psychologist, probation's on site, speech pathologist, as well as special education teacher. So a wraparound takes a village. And you'd be surprised, we have so many because we have 10 students currently. And again, it's 10 students that have a lot of diverse individual needs that need a lot of special attention. So that's why we have the staffing that we do. You can see 70% are Hispanic. Right now we have 2 redesignated students, and we have, we have 2 LTELs. Sorry, my visions are not so well. And 5 redesignated students. We have 40% of our students are on an IEP, and well over 90% of our students are on a SARB contract, meaning that they're chronically truant or absent, and we continue to work with those students on attendance. This year we received 5 referrals, and 4 of those students we ended up selecting to come in. Referral type, like I said, it's typically discipline, but also for credit deficiency and not on track to graduate. They do not have to be 16 years of age to be and attend Truckee River. So, some celebration opportunities, and some of you in the audience are going to appreciate this. So, our students, Truckee River, we do outings, we do wellness trips, and our most recent, we went to North Star for snowboarding, and there were a handful of students that had never ridden a chairlift. They've lived through their entire life. They've never ridden a chairlift, they've never ridden a gondola. Obviously, they've seen snow, but they've never actually participated in any of that. And to see the excitement on their faces was just like, it just gets you pumped up. All of us were just stoked just to see them out there enjoying themselves, and how many of them picked up on it pretty quick. But I do want to say that celebrations, we do have amazing students, amazing staff supporting that, as well as educational, instructional opportunities that are hands-on, practical, and preparing them for life after high school. And an opportunity that I think we're all aware of are our facilities, and I appreciate the attention that it's been given, and we're just thankful for whatever we can get. So thank you for that support on that front. So, with that was a lot packed in about 15 or so minutes. But again, it was an honor to present this showcase tonight and really celebrate the awesome programs that we have in our own backyard here within TTUSD. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any board questions or comments for Mr. Santos?
I have one question. Basic question. I think for the benefit and education of our audience, you use the term redesignated.
Oh, yeah.
Could you please explain what that means?
Yeah, so students who the primary language is not English, and then typically it's Spanish in our area. So if a student's primary language is Spanish, they go into an English setting school, right? And the more English they learn, we look to see, are they proficient enough in English to where we can now redesignate to say that they are no longer primarily Spanish, that they have the English component as well. And so you can see in a lot of those numbers, even though they've been redesignated, which is a huge celebration, the struggles they go through, but just the idea that they've been able to pass certain tests to show competency in the areas of English, which a lot of us take for granted because we're native English speakers, right? To see that and then to come into some of these settings is truly amazing. And they're not skipping a beat. They're pushing through. LTEL, long-term English learner, meaning that they have not been redesignated, that Spanish is still their primary language, and they are not proficient in the English language. Yeah, for sure.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll just make a few comments. So I went to the graduation last year, which was kind of one of my biggest exposures to what the school does. And I was really struck by sort of the alternative to opening up doors that you mentioned, because I felt like a lot of the students really just didn't have opportunities presented to them. And so by coming through these programs, maybe they're not getting the best grades or they didn't come from the best backgrounds, but the support from the teachers and the staff there is unreal. I mean, you could just feel it with every student that walked on that stage. Sort of, it takes a village really is true for these programs that, especially for Sierra High School, it really resonated with me, and just kind of seeing that level of effort that our district provides to our students. So I just want to say a big thanks to everyone that participates, because it's just huge for these students to see the opportunities that they're being provided and know that there is a next step for them in whatever they choose in life. So congratulations, it's awesome.
I'm just going to echo what Danielle said, because I want to thank Principal Santos and especially the staff back there for providing these educational opportunities, these various lanes, as you put them, for kids to achieve the goals that the kids in the main lane are trying to achieve as well. So, and I think it's a great metaphor to put it that way. It makes sense to me. And also for the sake of the audience and perhaps others, you mentioned that Sierra High earned a 6-year accreditation. I guess it was 3 years ago. You're about 3 years into it
That's
now.
correct.
So
Yep.
I was going to congratulate you for that, but I don't think you were here. So I'm going to congratulate the staff
Yes.
for doing
previous
that. It's
administration.
quite an achievement and accomplishment. It is the highest accreditation term that is awarded by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and it's no easy task. So great job on that as well. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for continuing to raise the bar. every student in all of our schools needs a high bar. Thank you.
Welcome. Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? Okay, thank you, and thank you to the staff for coming. Okay, Scotty Lap Foundation is in the house. All right, so some guidelines. Tonight is for information only. It's for us to be educated on what your goals are, to ask questions, to talk among ourselves, and then the public comment portion, as you saw earlier, everybody has 3 minutes. I do have some slips here for people that want to make public comment. If you're hoping to do that and you've not filled out a slip, Lupita, do we need them to fill it out, or do they just stand in line? Okay. And then I also wanted to say, which I should have said at the beginning of the meeting, just in general, but President Driller is out with family, and I know that this is a topic that many of you have been discussing with her, so she will be watching this later. Okay, so if we are ready, right, let's start with public comment and, with the presentation. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. And please, as you come up, introduce yourselves, and yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, while Lupita's getting this going, I just want to say thank you to the board and thank you to the staff for your support and the many meetings we've had with Kirsten, and we are just so appreciative to be at this point. It's what I've been dreaming of for a couple of years, so thank you for, I'm going to try to hold this together, sorry. So thank you. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Amy Lapp from the Scotty Lapp Foundation.
And I'm Jason Lapp.
And let's hit the next slide. And I wanted to say thank you and recognize our Tahoe City Skate Park Committee. They have been with us for 2 years now, and these are parents in the community that have kids at all different schools. And if you could please stand up to my skate park committee, I just want to recognize them real quick and say thank you to all of them. They work really hard. I would like to say thank you to our entitlement team, Nadia Costa, Joey Meldrum, Wyatt Ogilvy, and Kat Smolin. If you could stand up, please. These guys have really worked hard for us. We want to recognize our foundation board. They're not here, just Jason and I, but they have been amazing, supportive people and helped us raise a lot of money to this point. And then also say thank you to our project partners, California Skate Parks, who builds for the Olympics and the X Games, Tony Hawk Foundation, who's been with us since the start, the Tahoe City PUD, who has given us so much time and so many resources, and Placer County. So thank you.
Introduce this before I play it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, we're tag teaming here. This next video was made for us for the Alpenglow Speaker Series. We were chosen as one of their beneficiaries for the next 2 years. And as a gift to us, basically, they had some professional filmmakers make not a documentary, but a little slide presentation. So we thought it really told our story from beginning to end, and it would be beneficial for everyone to sort of see this visual and get a feel for what we're doing. So it's about 5 minutes long. My name's Amy Lapp. I'm one of the founders of the Scotty Lapp Foundation, and I'm Scotty's mom.
And I'm Scotty's dad, Jason. We want to say thank you to Alpenglow and the donor party for their partnership in having us as part of the speaker series this year. For a local, new, community-based foundation, this means the world to us.
We started the Scotty Lapp Foundation in February of 2022. It was a rough month. We lost our son, Scotty, who is 16 years old, in a ski accident at Alpine Meadows.
He was an amazing kid, and we wanted to honor him. Even on that last day, he was having the best day ever, rocking his pink sunglasses, and his comp run was up at Bernie's Bowl, and he's skiing down, and his ski came off and was stuck at like a 45-degree angle in the side of the mountain. And at the free ride comps, if your ski comes off or you fall down, you have to give a head tap to say you're okay. And Scotty didn't just give a head tap, he head tapped, and then he's like shaking his fist and smiling. And that's the silhouette that we used here for the foundation logo. Scotty was a great kid, full of energy, full of life. He always had some sort of project going. So we were in the fall of 21, had just moved here, and Scotty was skateboarding a lot before it started to snow, and came home and said to me, "Hey Mom, guess what? I'm friends with the sheriff." And I was like, "Why are you friends with the sheriff, Scotty?" And I was slightly nervous. And he said, "Well, you know, we skate in Tahoe City and all over the North Shore, and there's nowhere for us to go. The closest skate park is in either an incline or in Truckee, and none of us have our license. So I would really like to help my friends organize to get a skate park built in Tahoe City." I told Scotty to let's get through the ski season, and in the spring we would get organized and we would try to figure out how we could get a skate park built here in town. Unfortunately, Scotty died suddenly, and minutes after his death, I looked up to Jason and my son Ryan and I said, "You know what? We're building a skate park."
So our first project was building a skate park in Tahoe City. This is where Scotty spent all of his time. It was his community. In the beginning, right after he passed away, the community rallied around this idea that we should build a community resource for the kids. In fact, we've often heard people comment since we built a temporary park that they didn't realize there was so many kids in Tahoe City.
We have seen a real impact. It's amazing what a 4,000 square foot wood park that was built in 5 days can do for a community. And this is just a temporary park. Imagine what we can do with something more permanent. The thing we love about skate parks is you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to participate in the sport. The sport is $125 all in. It can be anybody, and people really bond together. We've had several parents come up to us and tell us how relieved they are to have a place that they know that their kids can go, where they're safe, in the community, close to home, and not far away with a bunch of strangers.
So that excitement and that return that we saw from the kids in the community got us really excited, and really took what was a snowflake of an idea and turned it into a snowball, which is the Scotty Lapp Foundation, which is all about empowering youth via skiing and snowboarding and skating to realize their full potential. The two primary vehicles for that are through sustainable recreational resources like skate parks, and then the second is through financial support for athletes who need help to realize their full potential.
We're making these kids realize that they don't have to be yelled at all the time because they're skating around town. Skating is an Olympic sport. We're giving them a place to practice, and we're giving them a place that they can choose to take this sport to the next level if they want to.
And we've also seen that what it does for the kids is really transformative. They look for community in outdoor sports or recreations or groups of friends where they can be seen, and they can provide back to the community, whether that's through showing up, cleaning up, and just being good citizens.
Most of the time. If you would like to donate or learn more about our organization.
So that sort of tells where we've come from and where we are now. And So we've done a lot of research and we've been looking hard for these last 2 years. And I've tried to plug my ears when people are like, this is going to be so hard. It's going to take you 10 years, blah, 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 you know, all the things. I'm like, just power through. You got this. Like, let's do this. And it's been amazing, the resources that have come our way and the coincidences that aren't coincidences that seem to come along with anything to do with our foundation or the skate park. So why the Tahoe City Dog Park? We've shown where the dog park is in this aerial view. At the top of the photo is the school, then the school parking lot, and then Connors Field, and at the bottom is the dog park, which beyond the dog park is a parking lot that's going to be redone this summer with a path, a multi-use path going between the golf course and the parking lot, which is going to be really awesome. So we love the dog park because it's in the town center. It's central to the bus, bike path, walkable from the school, close to amenities, visible to the public, which is key for a successful skate park. One of the big things Tony Hawk Foundation pushes, you want eyes on the park. It deters bad behavior or less than desirable behavior. You want it to be near other active public recreation, and this is. There's an existing bathroom at Connors Field. There's parking, which we don't need much of. A lot of the kids bike or skate or take the bus. And it's accessible to multiple communities in Tahoe City. We can serve the West Shore. We can go down to Dollar Hill. Like, everybody can sort of get there. It's buildable land for a skate park. It's flat, rectangular. It's a good size, and there aren't a lot of existing trees to remove, which is a bonus. We've been searching for 2 years. We've analyzed in detail numerous parcels. I'm sorry. And the parcels we examined determined no other parcel determined to be both feasible and meet all or even most of the requirements that we needed. Is this me?
Yeah.
Okay. So along with the North Tahoe PUD, the Tahoe City PUD, and Placer County, they were doing a needs assessment for the recreation and aquatic center that they're looking to build. And here we come along, and they were kind enough to sort of push us to the front. And they had their engineers and their consulting teams go ahead and look at 4 parcels for us in Tahoe City. This was completed in July of 2022. We looked at the dog park and then 401 Westlake Boulevard. That site you cannot see from the street. There's no restroom and there's a significant slope. Heritage Plaza, too small, no parking, no restrooms. We would have to remove infrastructure, and it had recent improvements, and we weren't comfortable with taking those away after people worked so hard to make that look nice. Firestone property, we were like, woo, yeah, Cindy Gustafson's like, that's the spot. And then we found a deed restriction on that property. So that will take many years to fix. And there were several other issues with that parcel.
So it's been 2 years for us, which feels like an eternity. It's been just as long for a lot of the community that's been behind this and supporting us. When we start thinking about like, well, why now? Why not in 10 years? One, we're not that patient. But the other side of this is that, you know, one of the things that we learned right out of the gate, and this is something that comes from the Tony Hawk Foundation, they have a saying that says that if your town doesn't have a skate park, the entire town becomes your skate park. You've seen a lot of pictures of the elementary school. It's part of that major skate park for the youth of Tahoe City and the North Lake. But that's because there is no skate park within 30 minutes. There's nothing drivable. And that means the elementary school, the rail at the post office, the bus depot, all of those locations, and that's where Scotty got to meet the local sheriff, Travis, was because they moved them from one spot to the other. So not having something close by continues to be a big issue. And as part of that needs assessment, it was one of the top two things that the community responded in needs. So that's part of it. The other side of this is that, from a financial support side, we've already raised over 75% of what we need to fund the design, the build, and the long-term maintenance is very simple as part of this project. And more importantly, that came from the community. So a lot of what we've been able to do has really been supported by the people in this room and the people and that you have dinner with, you see in town. And then more for us, we really want the opportunity to donate these resources back to the community on behalf of the foundation and Scotty.
Can I just say one thing on need? One thing that we love about skateboarding, and this is what Scotty loved about it too, anybody can do it. They can afford to do it. We live in a town where you're spending $15,000 to $20,000 a year for your kid to ski competitively, and that's not feasible for a lot of people. Skateboarding, it's so cool to go to a park, and I encourage you to go at some point. If you haven't been, you'll see like a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old working with each other to figure out a trick. And when that kid figures out the trick, everybody's stoked in the park. So it's a really cool thing that is accessible to all.
One of the things that we wanted to make sure we did was highlight a lot of the support and activity that we've put into making sure we come prepared to show you how serious the community is, but ourselves. We've listed them up here, but between Cindy, the Tahoe office of the county executive officer, the PUD, the TC Downtown Association, the North Tahoe Community Alliance, I'm sure you guys are getting bombarded with letters because we've asked everybody to write in, but they've all been behind this for a long time and continue to do so and want to see this done. We consistently put out outreach around what does the community want. So that's how we identified this was a clear need for the community. But then we started to look at, well, what do you want in a skate park? And we've done a needs assessment of the things that not only the kids in this room want to see, but the parents want to see. The 50-year-old skaters that are of my generation want to see in a skate park. And then most recently, we started to say we want to hear from people, and we did a change.org. And if you look at it, there's over 2,000 people have already started to gain some momentum behind that.
In a week and a half.
Yeah. And then I said we've raised 75% of our funds out of this community, and it's the broader Tahoe community and people who visit and own homes in this community. Our goals for the park, our initial estimate, it's going to be about $750,000 to fund it. As a foundation, we've raised more than that, but we've raised about $600,000 out of this community that they want to see go into this park. Another hard part for us is making sure that we're aligned with what the town wants. So the town association is a huge help in that, but when there's something that goes wrong, or now anytime somebody skates in Tahoe City and they're doing something wrong, we're the first people to we're the skateboarding people. So we're aware of what's going on, but more importantly, this is a starter list, and we can share this out. These are people who have actively given their endorsement and commitment and help us ongoing, whether that's servicing food or it's helping us build the temporary park. These are all the people that have sort of committed to saying, this is something we want, and that's the business and the owners who have invested in the town and want to see a next level improvement. We've started to collect some people that are close by who are going to be impacted the most, as well as we're continuing to try to figure out who we've missed. Amy's really good at that.
We also, we started this about a week and a half ago also, just reaching out to the businesses, but we are also trying to reach out to the residents near Grove Street. So I'm just sort of getting into that, but we're going to continue that as we go through this process and really let people know what we're planning and not hide anything from anyone.
This next slide is yours. One thing that I forgot to say about why now. So over the last 2 summers, and this will be our 3rd summer, we constructed a temporary spot with the donation from Evo for the use of their land. They paved the lot. We had all the materials donated. The kids and the adults and probably every contractor in town came out to help us build it. But we're on a limited time usage for that. So while that's helped us bring people together into a community zone, that's most likely going away as of the end of this year. So we're sort of in a, what do we do next?
We'll be left, these guys will be left with nowhere to go again. So, and if you go by the pop-up park, I mean, I would guess in summer, we get anywhere from 30 to maybe 60, 70, 80 users a day. It's happening. And it's little kids, it's families, it's the chef at Christie Hill skates before his shift every day. He's like, and people know at work if I don't get my skate session in. So it's important. So you guys can read through this later, but we've found the skate park is consistent with district goals. One of the items here that you have quoted is the physical, social, emotional, and well-being of students results from a partnership between families, the school staff, and the community. It makes community connections, and this would be a great way for you to show that you're working to engage and empower your students, because your students are going to use this park. Todd had asked if I could try to get some examples of successful collaboration between schools and skate parks, or schools that have skate parks on their land. And I had just read an article about a year and a half ago of this tiny little town in West Marin named San Geronimo. And the school, literally, you can barely see it in this picture, but that's the school in the background, and that's the skate park right in front of it. It's literally right next to the school. And I had the pleasure of speaking to the principal of the school, Laura, and we talked for about an hour. She was so excited to talk to me. She was the superintendent when they voted on this. And her quote, she's like, you have to use this one because they will relate to this one. So you have to give this one to the school board. I was like, okay, Laura. She said, I see skateboarding as an act of learning. To learn a trick, the kids have to try until they master it. It's like what we want them to do with a math problem. We want our kids to learn and keep trying. It's a true challenge and a life lesson, and that's what learning is. And I'm sure she'd be happy to speak to anybody if you want to give her a call. You can read through the rest of the quotes here. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do that, but she is lovely, and I encourage you to speak to her if you want. Only positives have come forward. She loves it. The older ones help the little ones. They do lunch programs, after school programs. I tried to get in touch with the Mill Valley Middle School principal and a couple people there. I have not heard back from them, but I have several friends in that community. You can also see the school behind the skate park here. It's been there for a long time. It was built in 2003 and remodeled to actually honor another student who passed away in 2019. And it's built right on district property. It's used, again, they do lunch programs with teachers. And this is sort of our goal. We love the dog park proximity to the school. We would love to help contribute to some after-school programs or even PE programs. So that, I think, would be a really great thing. I can't get this one. There we go.
This is not an actual rendering, but as part of our foundation mission, we are building, we want to build multiple skate parks. And in working with California Skate Park, they've come up with some initial design concepts, but we often find that people have a hard time envisioning what that will look like. And it's important to realize that when you're spending $750,000 on a skate park, it's not wood ramps, it's not, metal fencing, it's a concrete, sustainable, modern, like long-term structure. A lot of it's designed and built by the community feedback that we get. So if kids like to scooter, if you've got young kids in the community, if adults like bowls and kids like ramps, how do you bring all that together? You're laughing at that. But basically, we want to be able to park service multiple age groups, multiple types of skating, whether they're beginner or advanced. There's even a big push for like, how do you bring adaptive athletes into the mix, because skating is just a universal thing for non-team sports kids. So one of the big things that we're committed to is, one, bringing Scotty's vision and some consistency that's about community, it's about look and feel that fits the community, services the kids that in a way that they like to skate, but also something that's not, something that's going to really fit with the school, with the community, with the town. And a lot of the modern design is concrete and metal, with it's based on a lot of the feedback of people want something that's quieter and lasts longer and easier to maintain. You have anything to add to that?
And then we will, when we get to the point, I hope, of building a skate park in Tahoe City, we will do design outreach. So the users will, people often ask, like, do you have a design? Well, we would rather save our resources to build something people want. So we'll do several design outreach meetings for users and take that into account. And so, yeah, I think that's it, right? Yeah. Do you have any questions?
So I think if it's okay, we're going to hold our questions until we hear from Tahoe City PUD and the public comments.
Okay.
And then don't sit too far back so you can be here for
Okay,
questions.
I'm right
yeah?
here.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'd like to introduce and welcome up. Oh, yeah. This is our Director of Parks and Rec from Tahoe City, PUD, and this is Mr. Indra Winquist. Thanks so much for joining us.
Okay. Thank you, members of the board. For the record, again, my name's Indra Winquist, the Director of Parks and Recreation with Tahoe City Public Utility District. Let me just tell you that I'm honored to be here on behalf of TCPUD to support the Scotty Lapp Foundation and their, what I would consider, noble efforts to construct a skateboard park within our community. You probably have seen the letter of intent that was approved by our board. So this is supported by our board. This is supported by our staff. And as you've heard here and with all the folks that have shown up, very heavily supported by what I would consider probably the entire community. So, so we are in full support. We have agreed that when this skate park is constructed, that we have agreed to take over full maintenance, and long-term maintenance of the park. And as they mentioned, it is on school district property. My background in recreation, I've been lucky enough to manage multiple skate parks at agencies that I've worked for. Been involved in construction of skate parks, most recently in Incline Village. That skate park, even though it's on Incline Village General Improvement District property, it's right behind Incline Middle School. And I was a skater growing up, not as much anymore. But I can tell you that in Santa Barbara, where I grew up, if I wouldn't have had a skate park, my friends and I, there was a lot of mischievous things that would have been going on. So I assure you that if the skate park is constructed, it will be heavily utilized. So I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of the district, but I just want to reiterate the district's full support of this project.
Thank you. Do we have any questions before public comment? Okay. Okay, I think so that our speakers don't lose their momentum, we will open it up to the board for comment and questions, and then we'll have the public comment, okay? So anybody have a question, a comment?
Thank you for that presentation. I really appreciate it. And I am curious to know, once you survey the residents around the proposed park, what results you got from them, what information you got from them. I would like to hear that back. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. I think we've been given quite a bit of background information, ahead of this, but having this room full, having this presentations takes it to a whole nother level for sure, for us to kind of understand. And I don't have any specific questions because I think there's just been so much work and passion that's gone into this. I think it was helpful for us to have this as an informational item so that we could get that context before being asked to make a decision about it, which is super helpful. But I just want to maybe a few comments because I think that some of the public comments we got did speak a little bit about to maybe some of the negative perceptions there are of skate parks. And I think it's helpful for people to think about it as a community resource. And yes, it's empowering youth, but it's actually just creating that additional sense of community that we already have in our region. And I've seen some of the greatest successes that we've had in our region from grassroots efforts. Truckee is a town because of that. A lot of the things that people are passionate about and coming up here are really because the community came together and didn't just look at labels or, hearing the word no. It was, how can we? What are the opportunities? And so I appreciate that we've been provided all that context already to kind of understand what's gone into the efforts for that. So I just want to recognize that because it takes a lot of effort for someone to come and present information like this to get, our youth here, our students here, and want to be able to talk about something that's heartfelt and really passionate. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do you have any comments or questions?
Well, I think just to comment on your perseverance, your tenacity, and your vision under pretty devastating and tragic circumstances, you've turned it into something that can live forever in Scotty's memory, and I just think that's a beautiful vision. You are going to hopefully be able to create a nexus between youth and community and geography and sport in Tahoe City, which is really needed. As we all know, Tahoe City's gone through a lot of various different economic cycles, and it's really needing sort of like a soul, especially a soul that represents the culture of youth in a safe way. So I'm really hoping that we can do this. Very excited, and I also think it's going to, like you said, it's going to really be a draw for young people to come out and do things that don't cost a lot of money, but are also safe and like nurturing and skill building at the same time. So I hope we get to see more than one skate park in Tahoe City.
Hey, I can work on that.
Yeah. But thank you for your time and all your dedication. I think it's going to hopefully work out really well.
Thank you so much.
And I don't have questions or comments right now, but I do want to open it up for the people that are here to make comments. Just a reminder, please, 3 minutes. Your time is on the screen, and let's start with the people that actually filled these out. And just for people that have been emailing us, pro or with concerns, we have received your emails. We have read them. I just wanted to let you know that. Okay, let's start with, I'm not going to guess your last name, but Brock. Please. I didn't want to butcher it. Goebel?
Goebel.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I've never done this before. I'm so nervous. But I just had some key points on why I personally think we shouldn't have a dog park in Tahoe City. So I do think we do live in one of the most beautiful places on earth, and a lot of people come to travel here just to see our forests and beaches and all of that, and to have a dog park in Tahoe City where you can walk, 100 feet up the street and find a whole huge dog park, with even more opportunities for dogs than just the dog park. But I actually read a article from the New York Times recently talking about how dog parks are more unsafe for dogs than taking them to forests because, I mean, you have a lot bigger dogs up here and you do have some smaller dogs, and there have been cases where big dogs have, you know, like not intentionally but just playing and like being cooped up in a house all day and like being set in that enclosed area where they are like a little bit more just enclosed. And with the smaller and bigger dogs, some dogs have been injured or killed. And I just think that a lot of these households up here in Tahoe do own dogs and do have the space to walk outside and go into their backyard and take their dogs for lovelier walks than maybe take them to a dog park. And I do have some points on why I think a skate park could benefit our community as a whole. A lot of these people, like skaters, are newly licensed drivers, and for them to be driving 30 minutes just to skate a lot, and even like an hour if we're trying to go to Reno or something, it's kind of dangerous for not just us but other people. And not saying it's a bad thing, but just, and I do think a lot of parents have concerns too, being like, oh, I like my kids going alone with all these other people in the car, all the way to Reno or something, and like they're not there. And to have a skate park in Tahoe City where we can really all come as a whole, and like anybody can come visit, anybody can come see their kids skate, and just not having to get kicked out of everywhere, because that's pretty annoying. And I do feel very disrespectful for when people are telling us to leave and we're just like, we just want to skate, like we're just trying to have fun. And so thank you for hearing me out. Thank you, board and everybody, for listening to me, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Lindsay Thayer.
So, Brock, I have done this a lot, and I'm still nervous, so it's okay. I'm Lindsay Thayer. I'm on the committee for the Scotty Lapp Memorial Skate Park, and I'm also a local business owner in Tahoe City. Most importantly, I'm a mom of 2 kids, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. My 7-year-old, Brant, is in 1st grade at Tahoe Lake Elementary, and my little one will be enrolled in TK next year. So I am personally invested in this skate park for a lot of reasons. I grew up in SoCal, where skateboarding is a part of the culture. It's part of life. I watched my older brother and his friends skate everywhere. And to Amy's point, and the principal of the school in Lagunitas, my brother would spend hours in our garage practicing the same tricks over and over and over until he had it down and could take it to our local skate park. At a young age, this sport gifted him with valuable skills, one including never to give up. So, imagine now he can solve any Rubik's Cube in less than a minute. He's a talented digital creator, amazing athlete, well loved by his friends and community, and to this day gets on his skateboard as if he were still a kid. I read that to him to make sure he supported it and facts were correct, right? Because that's my brother. And he said, oh my gosh, there's this quote by Jerry Seinfeld that backs all of this up. It's saying exactly what all of you are trying to say. So I'm not going to try and mimic Jerry Seinfeld, but I will read the quote. I'll tell you, one of the greatest activities is skateboarding. To learn to do a skateboard trick. How many times you got to get something wrong till you get it right, and you get hurt, and you hurt yourself, and you learn to do that trick. Now you got a life lesson. Every time I see those skateboard kids, I think, those kids will be all right. Yeah. Skateboarding teaches us things well beyond the sport itself. It's not just a sport. I moved up here in 2008 and started working for Tahoe Dave's, ski shop by winter, the board shop by summer. Although I don't spend time working the floor anymore, I have and continue to witness our youth struggle to find a place to skate and practice their sport. Naturally, I saw the need for a skate park in our North Tahoe community for countless years. When I heard of Scotty's passing, his dream and the family's mission to fulfill his dream of a skate park in Tahoe City, I knew it was time. I joined the committee, and it's been over 2 years of ups and downs. But giving up is not in that mama's DNA, and I want to take a moment to give my love and support to the Latt family for taking their tragedy and turning it into an amazing foundation that works towards giving back to our youth. And especially to Amy. I'll wrap it up, I promise. Especially to Amy. She has been fearless through this process and has somehow been able to filter out the noise and has continued to show up every single day in memory of Scotty and to advocate for the youth of our community. Of course, I'm in strong support of this skate park, not only for our youth, but also for the youth of our community and for the benefit of Tahoe Lake. I envision my boys and their friends being enrolled in after-school enrichment programs at the park, even potentially have it incorporated into the school's curriculum. I see my children having a safe place in town to hang out outside after school and in summer with their friends, and in the summer with their friends to practice an amazing sport. The opportunities this amenity would open up for the community are endless. It would be an asset and an investment into the mental health and livelihood of our children. I look forward to the day that my kids can say, "See you at Scotty's."
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, the next person up is Stan Scott. And that's the last slip, so if anyone wants to speak after him, please line up against the wall.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stan Scott, and I'm a 26-year resident in Tahoe City, directly across from the proposed site. My wife and I moved there to raise our family across from an elementary school. Our kids used to walk across the street to school every day, and we ran a business for 10 years right there. And so I'd just like to give a couple of comments on my kind of observations from 26 years. What Ms. Levac said to you both, I mean, it's impressive what you've been able to do. I mean, Scotty was a boy who was loved by many people, including very good friends of our family. In fact, one of our really good friends spoke at his memorial service. So I really appreciate what you guys have done. Our family loves the goal that you have. I'll quote this, it's from your website, making ski, snowboard, and skate more accessible to underserved communities. By the way, Brock, you did a great job because I'm nervous as heck. So we're really in favor of what you guys are trying to do. The question is not whether to have a skate park or not. It's because I think it's unanimous. People want it, and I've heard all the reasons for it. The question is, where's the ideal site? And I'd like to share some observations about that. First, it's a well-utilized dog park. I appreciate Brock's comments about that. I don't have a dog myself, but I see lots of people there from 6:30 a.m. because they wake me up to 10 p.m., even though the hours are not quite that long. There's many people and dogs throughout the day there. I see people socializing. It is a very community-focused place. A lot of people who go to school at Tahoe Lake bring their dogs over there with their families. It's privately funded, and it's maintained by TCPUD. And my question would be, where's the dog park go? And I think, Brock, your comment about there's this great outdoor, that's great, but I see all these little bags of, you know what, everywhere on my trails when I go hiking. I mean, the dog park takes care of that. So I appreciate that. Your foundation wants this dog park site to be the skate park, and I'm quoting again from your website, an inclusive, accessible, community-minded, and safe space for all. So first, I'd like to give some observations about safety for the skaters themselves. We live on a very, very busy street. Since COVID, I've been working from home for 4 years. Before that, my wife ran a business there for 10 years, so we've been there a lot. We watched our kids, like I said, cross the street. We watched them carefully because lots is going on there. There's lots of drop-offs and pickups at Tahoe Lake, so that the street is constantly having traffic flow. There's lots of softball games going on, soccer games, etc. Lots of activity, and so it's right on that street, as you saw from the map. They actually posted a sign right in front of our house, a huge 25-mile-per-hour sign with a school sign because there's so much speeding up and down that street. The other thing, I think this is probably the most critical thing for safety, is that, and I did not see this at the Incline or Truckee sites, is that this particular site is behind 3 bars and a liquor store, literally right behind it. There's the Fat Cat, there's Sips, and there's Rosie's. Sips is actually a combo bar and liquor store. We've seen many suspicious activities inside and outside of cars. We've seen drunk people all the time, stumbling back to their cars. We've seen fights spilling out of that. I've seen fights that resulted in cops and ambulances come several times. I've heard there's drug deals. Haven't seen them myself, but I've heard that. And then the other thing I'd like to talk to is the safety for the kids at Tahoe Lake. To me, this is really important because my kids went to school there. I think that, everybody I talked to for the skate parks, even the pop-up park that you guys have, said that the kids are, great. There's some activities going on, like boys will be boys. It's, preteens and teens, and they have graffiti and obscene images, and they use profanity, and they're yelling that out and everything. And that's fine for the, I always tell my son, I know you guys do that with yourselves, but don't say that around other people. That's a bad influence for people that are in elementary school, There's kids walking by all the time, with their parents from the elementary school, and I think it's a bad influence. There's, the other thing I heard from other folks in town was that it's the influence outside the community. So there's people in their 20s, I heard somebody say a 50-year-old. There's older people who come to these skate parks. That's a bad influence we're bringing right next to elementary school. I mean, elementary schools have challenges as it is, as we know, in this country with the kinds of safety issues that we have.
Mr. Scott, just to make you aware of the time, please.
Yeah, and I'll
could you
just wrap
it
up right now.
Thank
Sorry
you.
for going long.
That's okay. But thank you for
and I'll just end with the last thing, because I love this part of your tenets of the foundation, is that it talks a lot about. If I can get to my right note here, but it talks a lot about the inclusivity and accessible to all. And so I just think, is this really the best spot? I think that the Tahoe City and West Shore communities are very white. This is a predominantly, if you look at all the people here, a predominantly white male sport. What are we doing to include non-white kids? What are we doing to include girls? I rarely see a girl. I saw a girl in one of your pictures. It was great. Because I've talked to other community members. It'd be great if we got some of those folks into the sport. If we actually had training for girls. So I just as an investor or stakeholder in this, it's important I think to think about for all the kids. So sorry for going long. Thanks so much.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Okay, and since I don't have a slip, please make sure you let us know your name, okay? Thank you.
My name is Rob Olson. I live in Alpine Meadows. We have a business in Tahoe City, but I'm also the president of the Tahoe City Downtown Association. We filled out a letter of support. We've supported the project in concept at the beginning, and then we also had a board meeting about the specific location, and we approved the location and are in full support of it. We need vibrancy. We need things going on in town, and it's maybe a little rare when a school district can help add vibrancy to a town, but you have the opportunity to go broaden your reach to even more things. And I'm highly educated. I've got 2 college degrees. I have all that stuff. But really when it came down to it, the extracurricular stuff, the stuff I did outside of school was also equally as important. I'm an architect and a contractor, and I have to believe when kids are doing 3-dimensional thinking, learning a trick and doing stuff, learning physics outside an actual application, that can help be building blocks for a better future for them. I would like to see that there are classes that are more inclusive of all the different kind of demographics that we do have in Tahoe. I think that's a great suggestion. I think that this is a stepping stone to trying to get more activities going from it. The Tahoe City PUD does a lot of great kids programs. Camp Skylandia gets sold out. How great would it be if they had another, skate camp during the summer? There's so many different opportunities, and we do have a lot of bars. I mean, that's all there is to do in town is to drink. So I don't think there's there's not many other places.
Not a lot of eating.
There's not a lot of options. And so when they presented first, I was thinking the dog park, and then I'm glad to see that it came back to that this location actually works. Because I think it checks enough box. It's not directly on the main road, but it's in close proximity. There's activities. So we're in support of the project, and I am personally, my dog has gone to the dog park. It's a smaller dog. It has been accosted by big dogs. That's just part of life. But I think the dogs will be okay. I think our kids are more of a priority than our dogs. So thank you.
Hi there. I'm Deirdre Davey. I live in Talmont. I've had my place in Talmont since 2000. I'm pretty loud, so you're good, right? You can hear me. Anyway, and I also I own a local business called Elevate, which is an adventure wellness business. I've been doing a lot of work with the LAPS for too long, actually, but because it shouldn't happen that way. But so I was inspired to speak. I had no intention of speaking, though I do talk a lot, by some of the things he said. One of the most magical things about Free Ride and the Tahoe community is the cross of ages. Right? There's nothing dangerous about a 50-year-old with a 10-year-old. In fact, it's freaking awesome, right? One of the most beautiful things that exists in free ride and some of the other sports up here is that our kids still hang out with us. They choose to, right? Because we all live a certain same kind of lifestyle, right? So I really, really reject that one thing. I also think there's a huge crossover in race and gender that's going on in all board sports, snow sports. I have all the same issues with bunny and snow sports that everybody else does, which makes me even more interested in this. And as someone who's owned a house in Tahoe City since 2000, it's not good. Like, Tahoe City's not in great shape, right? We don't even have 2 grocery stores anymore, but it's pretty pathetic. And I do agree that so much energy comes out of our kids and school and the people at North Tahoe and all, I think I'm not going to be eloquent, but I think it's really significant and major to inject that energy into the community. I have 3 dogs and 5 cats. People hate my dogs. They're pit bulls. I couldn't take them to a dog park if I wanted. But also, I would much rather prioritize our kids than my dogs, right? I'm sorry. I loved Tahoe 20 years ago, and my dog could go anywhere he wanted in the meadows. I hope that we don't get to the place in Tahoe City where we need a dog park, because everyone hates our dogs that much. But for right now, we have a priority, and it's not anyone's dogs. So I think that's everything. I probably have about 1,000 more things, and I can't say enough words about the LAPS. And there's a reason that this whole room is full. It's because they have done amazing things with the worst possible thing that could happen to you, and they do give a shit. It wasn't so bad for me. About the community and our kids, and they have brought me. I didn't know Scotty very well, and I didn't know them very well, but they have made that happen because they care, and there's nothing better we could do.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Shantz. I live in Tahoe City and I own a business in Truckee. Just to kind of elaborate on what she said a little bit more, I grew up in Tahoe. I'm a 3rd-generation Tahoe person, and my son, who's a sophomore, is a 4th-generation Tahoe kid. And it's just time to get a skate park. I watched my brother in the garage for hours work on tricks, and I wasn't planning to say anything, so I don't really know what else to say. But I just wanted to put that piece in. This town breeds skateboarders in a very positive way, and it's affected me in my relationship with my son in a really positive way. And my boyfriend, who's 50, still skateboards all the time. So it's just a really great thing, and I can't thank these guys enough for everything they've done for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Thank you very much for hearing about the Scotty Lap Foundation and the Scotty Lap Skate Park tonight. My name is Kat Smolin. I am an environmental consultant in the region. I have been a homeowner. My family's been homeowners since the 60s, and I'm very proud to make this my community. I have 4 children that participate in schools here that are still young enough to enjoy this throughout its fruition and throughout its construction. So in the fall of 2021, I was Scotty's carpool driver to high school, and we were getting in the car one morning, and he had a skateboard with him, and I said, well, do you need a ride home? And he said, no, that's okay, I'm going to stay in town and skate. And I thought, well, where? Well, where's that going to happen? And how are you really going to get home? And how are you not going to get in trouble? And so when Amy said that this was her vision, I just jumped on the bandwagon to help, and we've been kind of deeply and critically involved in this assessment and the needs assessment and looking at multiple parcels, participating in meetings with Placer County and the Tahoe City PUD, and it's not something we've taken lightly. The dog park came up 18 months ago as an opportunity, but we had also had constraints, and so we really critically examined each of these parcels, each of these locations for what all the opportunities were. And with the softball field being adjacent, with existing lighting, with an existing restroom, with hours that already extended till 9 p.m., it didn't seem like there would be additional noise or nuisance beyond what was already happening. With Grove Street parking lot already becoming commercial row and the new infrastructure that's happening, there needs to be a buffer between the elementary school and the new commercial row. And so we think this is that great opportunity to implement that construction in a location that's central to everything and really has checks so many boxes for so many people and provides community both for our youth who've most have probably never attended a public agency meeting or a public meeting, and so we're getting people involved and getting our youth involved. So thank you all for coming, and tonight I appreciate that too. But I thank you for hearing us. I really appreciate this consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks again for the time. My name is Eben Schreiber. I am on the skate park committee. I also have 3 kids. I own a house on the West Shore. I'm a contractor, and my office is in Tahoe City at the Big Tree Center. So I'm very familiar with, right behind our office is the dog park. So I'm familiar with the area as well. I have coached, my son is sitting here, I've coached half of these kids in soccer and baseball since they were this big, and I'm going to continue encouraging them in the endeavors that they choose to do in skiing and in mountain biking and in outdoor activities. It's super healthy. It's what I'm going to do as a father and a community member. I also grew up skateboarding since I was little and running from the cops and skating at the local elementary school and junior college. And I think that there is that negative aspect that could be, and there's the things that go along with that, whether it's the cigarettes or we see drugs and alcohol. That stuff is something these kids are going to have to navigate, regardless if there's a skate park or Tahoe City. And I think giving them a place to play, a place to engage in their activity, we are not blind to that. I am on the front row with these 2. I get the same text and phone call when something screwy goes on, and we handle it, and we want to address it. And we want to provide them with an atmosphere and a place to play and support that and not be naive to what's going on. But I think we're not going to be able to hide from it. So we want to embrace that and try to encourage. So we got, a lot of boys here, and there's some girls involved in it. And they're all rascally, and they're all like half screwballs, and exactly where I was and Jason was and half of these other 50-year-olds that are standing here that still want to get on a skateboard and still want to play. And that and the encouragement and support that I've had in my life is what we want to provide to them. So I got dogs as well. And I live on the West Shore on a dead-end street, and I got a dog park all over the place. I agree with the plastic bag. It drives me nuts, too. So I think there's a lot of compromise, and there's a lot of opportunity to engage and support, and I think the kids absolutely come first. So thanks a lot for your time and the consideration.
Thank you.
How's it going? I'm Duke. I wasn't really planning on saying anything, but so I feel you, Brock. I'm super nervous too. But skateboarding is probably the best thing that has ever happened to me. Growing up in Tahoe City, I've never had a place to or where skateboarding is allowed. It has been a struggle for every one of the kids in the room here, going from, the transit center to the elementary school, going to all these local businesses, kind of driving them crazy skateboarding around. So having a skate park is, I think, everybody's dream here. It would just be amazing. And skateboarding is probably one of the most inclusive sports I've ever seen. It might not seem like it from an outsider's perspective, but you go to the skate park and, there will be a 5-year-old kid there who is just first time standing on a board ever. There'll be a 50-year-old guy who's the most hash pool skater ever, and everyone's just getting along. You'll see girls there, you'll see people show up on bikes, scooters, Heelys, whatever it is. A skate park isn't just for skateboarders. It's a place for the whole community to come together where everybody has fun. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself, other people. You create the best relationships ever. And I don't know, skateboarding is just the most awesome thing in the world. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going? My name is Dylan Omlin. I'm the 50-year-old skateboarder everybody's talking about. But I think what I wanted to come at it with is I run the snowboard programs for the Auburn Ski Club. And I started it 27 years ago, 5 kids. There's 350 athletes now. Most of them are not stick and ball sport players. They're musicians, they're poets, they're artists that never had a home. And I think snowboarding and skateboarding give those people that home, right? And so it's kind of like I always equate a skate park to almost like the Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. That kid that's playing his guitar in his basement, he likes that. He just doesn't know how to get into it. He has nowhere to go. He doesn't know the kid that goes to the skate park. So if you do something like that, to your point about the girls and the other ethnicities and everything, that will happen. It's happening anyways, but it will happen. It's not going to happen until you have a place for it to happen, right? And I just know that through what I've done. It was small, it was white, it was all the things, it was male. Now it is not. But it took time to build and build and build and build. Skate park's the first step, right? And I was heavily involved in the first Truckee park. I'm heavily involved in Rocker. I just came down from digging at the rally. You know what it's done for this town on this side of River Road, right? It'll do the same thing for Tahoe City. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Jen, before you start, if I may, I was just reminded that our public comment timeframe is a half an hour, which we are at. So what I would like to do is take these 2 public comments and then how do I say it? We're going to prioritize the youth. If any of you have something to say before we wrap up public comment, please stand behind this gentleman, because besides you, there's no more public comment for the evening. We can take more public comment at the end of the meeting if you all want to stay, or we welcome all the emails, phone calls, however you want to do that, okay? Thank you. All right, so I see 3. After Sylvan, is there anybody else? Okay. Going once, going twice. All right, and you can definitely stay till the end of the meeting and have some more time at that time. Thank you.
Am I ready?
Yes, ma'am.
My time is ticking. My name is Jennifer Stontiner, and my family owns the Mountain Forge in Truckee. And I want to say that my son, my oldest son, had a really hard time in high school. And he found the skate community. And now he's at Pratt, which is a highly ranked art school in New York City. And he's doing great things because he had a skate park. He learned confidence and came out of himself and out of his own head. And really the mental health benefits of having that outdoor athletic experience that doesn't cost $1 million is really great for a lot of kids. And I think that it's done really great things for a lot of kids in Truckee. And I think it'll do really great things for kids in Tahoe City. And they don't have to go to Reno all the time, and they don't have to go to Incline, and they don't have to go all these far places. They can just stay right at home And that's a really good thing for lots of reasons. But also, I want to address this idea. There are women skaters. I was a skater when I was growing up in New Jersey. And, you know, there's less of us, but there's many sports that are dominated by white men. So I'm not really sure that that's a reason not to have a skate park. I feel like that's more of a reason to have a skate park because that gives white women or other colored women a chance to get out and do something that makes us feel good too. And, you know, we had a really good time competing with the boys in those skate parks because you aren't welcome in a lot of places, but at a skate park, everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you can skate or not. You're still welcome. And that's a really cool thing for the youth of not just our own community, but communities that come visit here. We have a lot of visitors here. I think it swells to 80,000 people on a summer day. That's a lot of people looking for something to do. And a lot of those kids can come up here and skate and utilize those resources as well. And those are great, safe places for their kids too. So it's not just about us local people and how much we want the skate park. It's great to bring the skate park as another resource. And I'm not sure that they're seeing the dog park as the same sort of resource. You know, they don't really come here, oh, let's go to that dog park in Tahoe City. I'm not sure that that's what they're thinking, you know? And I'm not sure why the school district is aligned with a dog park. Anyway, I feel like aligning with students and our youth is the better proposition. I don't really understand why the association of the TTUSD with a dog park. So that's just my little bit. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm another nervous person. My name is Keith Dillon. I'm a youth athletics coach. I was raised in North Lake. I'm a Tahoe City resident. I've lived here most of my life. I am a skateboarder. We tried to get a park built when I was a kid. The generation before me tried to get a park built in North Lake. It took long, we kept getting pushed back over and over again. Kids grow up, they move away. Before that happened, my friends and I all had our fair share of run-ins with the police for skateboarding. And no disrespect, but some of us ended up at Sierra High School. Today, North Lake looks the same as it did when I was 15. There's dozens of skateboarders, nowhere to skate. Amy and Jason, the foundation, their supporters, they're all offering us an excellent opportunity to change that. I think we would be foolish not to take advantage of it. Let's give our community a skate park. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a dog too. I talked to him before I came. He's cool with the skate park.
Hi, I'm Alec. I'm pretty nervous, but I mean, I don't know who isn't. I personally think we should have a skate park in Tahoe City because I've met all of my best friends skating, and I really don't know who I would be friends with without like skating and all of that. And it's gone from the transit center and the bus depot to the elementary school to everywhere else, CVS, the post office. We've all got kicked out of there. And we really need a skate park, and I don't have much else to say, but yeah, I just really need a skate park.
Hello, my name is Sylvan Fritsch. I don't personally skateboard, but I scooter, and I started scootering, and I originally started skateboarding, I should say. And when I started, I didn't really know anyone, and I went to the elementary school one day, and there was just a bunch of guys, like a bunch of these kids skating, and I thought it was super cool, and I was like, I want to join these guys. This is like super fun. And like how everyone else has said, we all got kicked out everywhere, like post office, Tahoe City, elementary school. Elementary school hates us, by the way. Like, it's kind of crazy, but Another thing about the drugs and alcohol stuff, I feel like that's kind of everywhere, not really just skate parks. Like, yeah, there's a bar there, but there's also a bar, Pete and Peter's, right where our skate park is currently, and I haven't seen any significant problems with that. I've seen definitely some really drunk people during the day, not from Pete and Peter's or anything like that, but it's always been dealt with in an easy and good way. Like, we've been able to call the cops a couple times, and they've come really quickly. And same thing as I said earlier, I feel like there's no difference as if it was to be in where the dog park is now. Another thing about, like, I've never seen so many people, like when we started at the elementary school, it was just a couple of us, but the moment that pop-up skate park came, I've never seen so many people. Like, I didn't know that there's that many people that skated, or like never have and wanted to. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jesus, and I'm really nervous right now. And I like to agree with all these people that really want a skate park, because I recently started skating like 3 years ago, and I didn't know any of these people, and now I've like become really, really close with that. And just like imagine like someone who wants to start something new and then making like a whole new life, like really good life. And I'm just really nervous right now. And I think we also really need a skate park, because like everyone just like loves to skate, loves to scooter, loves to bike. It's just like everyone of race, Hispanic, black, white, Asian, everyone. It's not just male, white sport or something like that. Everyone just loves to skate. And yeah, I just think we really need a skate park. Like, why a dog park? Yeah. And thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Asher. Like, basically my entire start of my high school career, I sort of saw myself as a loser, and then this kid, Cruz right here, just one day randomly asked me if I wanted to go stay in Tahoe City with him and Sylvan, and I was like, sure, I'll go, why not? It's not like I have anything else to do. Spent entire year before this just going home and sitting and playing video games, so might as well try something new. And he let me borrow one of his skateboards. I started learning again, and I've like basically found a second family in this skateboarding community. And just knowing that experience for myself, and knowing that like there's a million other kids out there who feel like that, and just knowing that this skate park getting built can bring a entirely new family to a million other kids is like just seems like something our community needs, especially since we live somewhere so small with such a strong sense of community, despite the people who felt the way that I felt before. And yeah, just having a skate park would really just help bring the entire community together. And like what was said before, there's really no standard to who you have to be a skateboarder and be accepted into this community. You just have to be you and have fun skating, and it doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your gender, none of that. Like, if you show up to the skate park with a board, a scooter, a bike, nothing, people will welcome you with open arms, walk up to you, start talking to you, even if none of them have ever even seen you before in their lives. So yeah, I just feel like skate park would be really good for a lot of people. Thanks.
Thank you.
This thing's short. I'm Cruz Bradley, and I just wanted to talk about like the art of skating and all of us. And we're not just skaters, we're artists. Like, we got Henry Schwichty over there. He made these pants. He likes sewing. We got Brock Goebel. I've seen him make jewelry. Silly and Dexter, really in a film. They've made some beautiful, like, Dexter made a whole movie that played in the art house to our local theater. He doesn't think he's an artist, but he can give you a good haircut, let me tell you. Put a pair of scissors in this man's hand, it'll fade you up. I personally, I like making music and playing guitar. And we're not just skaters, we're artists. And we're the people who are going to change the world. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
My name is Miles. I live one street over from the dog park. And I haven't been skating for very long, but all I can think about is before I started skating, who I was. And I kind of always just remember searching for that adrenaline rush, you know, whether it be like graffiti or some stupid stuff, breaking something or robbing something, chased. I can't think of anything right now, but I was just searching for that kick. And then I found it in skating. And ever since, I've kind of not really wanted to do anything else. Haven't really. Yeah, that's it. I can't think of anything else. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. I'm super proud. I'm just going to say that. You guys are amazing, and I'm glad you got your moment to share. And when this park, wherever it ends up, gets designed, I hope you come back from wherever you are to help design it, because you're the heart of it, as was your friend or acquaintance. So, okay, one last opportunity for the board to ask any questions, make any comments.
Public speaking is hard for lots of people, so I just, props for coming up and talking, because it's not an easy thing to do, and the more you do it, you get better at it, but you shouldn't be afraid to speak your mind, so thank you for doing that.
I just want to reiterate that as well. I want to thank all the people who came to speak tonight on behalf of the skate park, about the skate park, and but especially you kids who showed up. As Mrs. Nishimori said, public speaking is difficult and challenging, but you all spoke well, you spoke convincingly, and you spoke passionately from the heart. So thanks very much for that. I hope we didn't take too much time away from what you probably would be doing as skating right now, but you can get back to it. Thank you.
Okay, so would the board be in agreement to bring this back for an official vote for the May 15th meeting? Do I need to take a vote on that, or is it a casual? Okay, so yes. How about you two? Yes?
Yes.
Absolutely yes. So May 15th, this will be an action item for the use of the park. So dog park, skate park. So you're welcome to come back. You can watch it on TV, either way. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, guys. Well, this is Dee's job. Talk about nervous when she can't make these meetings. That's about I don't know about this thing. Give me the bodyguards against the drop. Couple of minutes break, and we'll reconvene in just 2 minutes. Okay, we are back in, is it session? We are back to the board meeting. Thank you for allowing us a couple minutes to just have a break, and thank you for your patience. And the next thing on the agenda is going to be the superintendent's reports.
Thank you, Clerk Hennessy. First, I want to start by celebrating our music programs and music teachers. Over the last few days, I have enjoyed attending 2 different TTUSD performances. On Saturday, the Gatsby Jazz Club event featured outstanding performances by our Truckee High and Alder Creek jazz bands. The music teachers, Mr. Steele and Miss Tomaselo, truly bring the best out in their students. And then last night, it was the Donner Trail Elementary Open House, and the students there sang beautifully for their families under the direction of Mrs. Claudia Waters. So I want to give a huge shout out to all of our TTUSD music teachers for all they do to share the joy of music with their students. And a big thank you to our community for supporting Measure AA, which allows us to provide music education for our students, starting with our youngest learners. Even our TKers get a music program. And then next, I would like to provide a quick update on our district strategic plan and give an update of each focus area. So in academic achievement, one of the focuses is delivering the delivery of an effective curriculum to bolster student achievement across all school sites. And tonight, Assistant Superintendent Logan Maloney, a little later, will share a significant update on our math pilot, a key action in this area. This update is particularly important as it demonstrates the district's commitment to enhancing student learning outcomes and providing our staff with the necessary resources. And for support systems, a priority is the ongoing development of employees and systems. And the Collective Action of Labor and Management Committee, also known as CALM, met last week to discuss our findings from over 30 individual empathy interviews with district staff members all across the district, conducted by the committee members. And the committee really wants to understand the root cause of morale issues that surfaced in our Hanover survey results. And the committee had a lively discussion, and we look forward to bringing concrete ideas forward for what we're going to do next year. And then for community connections, we prioritize collaborating with our local educational partners to enhance strong community connections to each other in our environment. And a great example of this is the SWEP partnership. They're hosting a family science night tonight at Truckee Elementary. And all of our elementary schools get to have science days and then an evening event where families come and engage with their students in hands-on science stations. So we appreciate all of the volunteers that make that happen, and SWEP for leading the way. And that concludes my update.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does staff have anything to pull from the consent agenda?
Nothing tonight.
Okay, how about board members? Okay, then could I please get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
A second, anyone?
I'll second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and then next we have a presentation from the technology department.
It's my pleasure to introduce our Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Ed Hilton.
It's the on button.
Turn it off and on. I'll let Lupita do it. Thank you, Superintendent Kramer and Clerk Hennessy, distinguished board members. It's a privilege to be able to come up and present to you today about AI, or artificial intelligence. And with me today to help me present is Michael Arrington, and I'll ask him to introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Michael Arrington. I'm the teacher technology specialist here at the school district, former middle school math and science teacher also, and technology teacher at Alder Creek Middle School.
So, like a good classroom, we want to make sure we have some outcomes tonight. The first is we want to share with you what is AI. A lot of folks have been talking about it. We want to make sure the board is informed and can make good decisions, especially as we move forward with some policies that will be coming across the dais later this year. Secondly, we'd like to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing with AI in education here at Tahoe Truckee School District, and lastly, using AI safely and effectively with an opportunity for the board to use the AI tool that we've been using in the school district with our teachers and staff.
So just a little start of some historical background about where we were. And we started with the mainframe computer room where we did all our computing, and then that moved into your personal desktop computing when the computing came home. And then the internet opened up a lot of new computing power and connections with computers to the handheld computer devices back in 2006 with the Apple iPhone. And now we're moving into the AI generation with computing. So it's been an interesting road moving all the way through, and everything coming and different challenges along the way.
What you hear a lot of people get excited about is that we're moving closer to the time when computers can think for themselves. That is not the time that we're in right now. We're still quite a bit of time away from a general artificial intelligence. When we talk about AI now, it's technologies that are designed to mimic natural intelligence. This is something that's not necessarily new. We've had it for a while. You might remember signing up for Grammarly and having AI check your work as you go, or maybe make a sentence in the correct case. You might remember when the iPhone came out with a button where you could text back quickly when somebody responds to you. Those are all machine learning. It's a prediction engine. It takes a lot of text and then predicts what the next outcome might be. These new models that we're looking at over the last 18 months are generative AI. They're predictive engines that predict, you give it an input and then it predicts what you want back out. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about AI today. And we're not quite to that time when computers are thinking for themselves.
When you get your recommendations on Netflix, it's really
I think that it is stealing voices of writers. I want to be a writer. That's what I want my career to be. And
I'm using it.
I think that it is.
We're going back. Try this again.
I think that it is.
It's just going straight towards it really quick.
Okay.
I think that it is stealing voices of writers. I want to be a writer. That's what I.
Let's try that again. There we go.
I think that it is stealing voices of writers. I want to be a writer. That's what I want my career to be. And it completely takes away originality and thought. If I loaded even a sentence of my original writing, then it will be in that database forever, and I don't like that.
So I used it on my Snapchat to write just a simple poem. It was freshman year, but I didn't even know we could get it on our Chromebooks, like ChatGPT. So I thought it was blocked. So I never have looked at it before. But yeah, I've used it once on my Snap.
What was the poem about?
It was about snow.
I've used AI for things I've been really stuck on and not really sure what to do, like a story outline. I never had it write anything for me, but I've had it come up with ideas of things that I could write about, and that's what I've used it for.
So students are using it for all sorts of things right now. They're just playing around with it. It's embedded in some of their Snapchats or Instagram type of things. But they're using it, like I said, when they're stuck as a personal tutor to get some things or to add text. They can add it into the AI and ask it to simplify it for them, but put it at their reading level so they can understand a little bit better. Brainstorming ideas, writing computer code, to help them to write a code to do something. The AI helps with that. So they're getting started. It was really interesting asking these students. I was in Mr. Coe's journalism class at the high school. And when I asked them, I said, yeah, I'd like to ask a couple of you how you use AI. And, they weren't raising their hands. They were so afraid that they were going to get in trouble if they were, come on, you guys can use it sometimes. And so it was kind of progression of, I don't want to use it because I'm afraid that my voice is going to go out in the world and be captured and it won't be my voice anymore, to, well, I started to use it, but I said, I'm not writing anything with it. I'm not turning in my work with just this. So it's a real interesting, time with the use of it at this point in time.
Next up, we have our staff and teachers.
I'm using it for curriculum development, creating like multiple choice quizzes, Kahoot quizzes. I've used it a little bit for grading writing and providing writing feedback. I'm also trying to get students to engage with it. Most of that has been analysis projects that are visual, and having students use the Canva AI generator to create complex images that they might not have the artistic talent to create, that applies to whatever we're learning. When I assign those projects, I see them using it in that way to sort of like deepen their ability to create interesting projects, but I also see them using it to circumnavigate learning sometimes and just enter in the prompts and get the response. It's kind of the new wave of teenage cheating and plagiarism that we're battling. Rather than going to lit charts and pulling an essay, they're just having ChatGPT create an all new essay for them. So that's the new battle that we're fighting.
Yeah, Mr. Close mentioned the AI that's built into Canva, which is a tool that all of our students and staff have access to. We're also lucky to have an entrepreneur in our community. I was introduced by Ms. Maloney to Bill Wynn, who has allowed us to use his beta product, which is sandbox.chat, and he's opened that up to some of our teachers to use. And some of the things that they're experimenting with are creating lesson plans, creating rubrics for exemplar work, helping writing code. Michael talked about that, as well as assessing and grading student work to tighten up the time frame it takes to get through assessment, because we know that the quicker we can get assessment out to students, the better that feedback is for them to use and then use it in their work again. So it's been a powerful tool for us, and we'll talk about some of those benefits and some of the things that we're concerned about that we want to keep an eye on and make sure our staff knows about, and our students as they start using AI.
Lots of benefits for helping you get through roadblocks. You get stuck on something, you can use the AI to work directly with it. It's improving equity so that you have everybody who has access to it can get to the same tools. It doesn't matter where they are or where they're at, or who's at home, or who they have in the office space to work with. So it improves that. It's a time saver. Lots of teachers ask, like, if I just had a personal assistant to help me with that. And AI is now starting to develop into that personal assistant to help them work with different types of things, help them write emails to parents or make things a little, clarify things. Scaffolding, helping the teachers to scaffold and write different, for example, take a piece of text and scaffold it 3 different reading levels so that everybody in the classroom then has that access to text rather than having to go and find out 3 different types of those texts. So there's lots of benefits in using it within education and within the workplace.
There are some risks, though, and the things that we want folks to watch out for, especially our staff and our students as they're working with AI. One is that it can hallucinate. It is a predictive engine. It's really good at making the case that it is correct. So if you've ever talked to somebody, it always seems like they're right. AI can really sound like it's right a lot. So it's always good to, and we'll talk about in a minute, that we are always in the loop and checking back to make sure that the output that we're getting is correct. Next is to make sure that we're including our own critical thinking as part of the process. Look for biases, cheating, plagiarism. Academic integrity is really important, especially as our students get older. We want to make sure data privacy is attended to, and these models, especially if they're the free models, they're taking the prompts that you're putting into the model and taking that and then introducing it into the larger model itself. So we want to make sure that it's safe. We're not introducing any personally identifiable information or any things that we wouldn't want to be part of that larger data set.
So having the human in the center is one of the things that just keeps coming out with AI, is making sure that we always keep the student, the teacher, the human, the person who's using it in the center of all your conversations with your AIs. So it's not just here's this, and give it to me, and then go share it out. You're actually in this conversation, and you're trying to use it as a tool to help you craft or use for what you're doing. So, and that goes along with the privacy part, with the security parts, with bias, that you're always judging those biases yourself, or judging whether or not what's coming out is accurate, and doing the research behind it. Because it is just a language model. It's not a critical thinking model, so it's not really checking to make sure all of its facts are correct. It's just making sure that the language that comes out makes a lot of sense.
So when we're creating prompts, we want to make sure that keeping that human in the middle. One thing that makes it really nice when you're working with AI is to make sure that you're having like a conversation with it. You're not just asking a question, taking the answer, and then going from there. You're setting a context, like who do you want the AI to be? Do you want it to be a famous scientist? Do you want it to be an assistant? Do you want it to be a third grade student? And then you can start having a conversation with it around what you're looking for, and then continually revising your prompt as you're looking at the outputs. And again, attending to that fact that the human is in the middle. This is something that Michael's been working with some of our teachers and staff on, and how can we create better prompts and then model that for our students to get more supportive feedback using the AI.
This prompt engineering is what it's coming out. It's a whole new field that's being developed, which our students will be graduating and moving into, and how you develop the prompts to get from this tool what you can actually use. And so this whole circle of keeping yourself in the center and always checking back, and no, there's some bias there, or you have an incorrect fact there. I go back and respond to it and say, you know, this is not right. And they say, oh, the AI comes back to, you're absolutely correct. This is not right. Try it this way. And then we make some changes. So having that conversation is not like a search engine where we would just put in a question and get some articles and try to pull out the information. It is a conversation, an assistant that you're talking to.
Yeah, a lot of folks will refer to these as chat bots. So we want to make sure that that conversation is part of it. That's where we get the best output when you're having the conversation. One thing that especially educators get excited about is that academic integrity piece. And we're worried that students are going to go ahead and put a question or an essay prompt into the AI tool. The essay comes out, we copy, paste, turn into the teacher. It's important to know that with any assignment that a teacher will give to a student or have in the classroom is that there's a continuum that goes along. So on one side, a student plugs in a prompt, gets the response, gives that to the teacher. To kind of like in the center, a student created multiple AI responses, used the best parts, edited, had that conversation. To the other side where the student just wrote the assignment themselves. But I want you to consider for a second what that might look like without the AI.
So if we take that same continuum and just change it to student created to a non-student generated, and switch out, take out the AI and add a parent, a tutor, older brother or sister, a friend, and switch that out. So yeah, I go home and I say, Mom, can you write this essay for me? And they write it, and I put my name on it and turn it in. I'm not generating it, but I'm using someone else, just like I might use the AI, all the way down to I sit down with some friends and we brainstorm ideas together. And I take some of their ideas and incorporate it into my own. So which part of this is not necessarily the AI question, it's more of what is the learning process and how much of the learning do I own as I'm in this process, or how much of the product is mine. And we want to get away from that, not that AI generated to that non-student generated. And with this in mind, it really comes down to what I'm seeing, and we're talking to lots of people in education, that this comes down to equity. And the next slide. And in terms of equity, with AI at this point, every student has a content specialist, a New York Times editor, and a personal tutor at home that they can access when they need the help. They don't have to wait until they get back to a place, or if they don't have the group of students to work with, they can start generating brainstorming ideas and use it to help them edit. It was funny when we did this interview thing, after I struggled to get them to raise their hand to tell me about using AI. I asked them, how many of you ask your parents to help you edit your papers. And all their hands went up without any hesitation. And then I ask the question, well, how's that different? And they go, that's because one's AI and the other one's my parent. But we would never, as a teacher, question a student to say, I know your mom's a 9th grade English teacher. She helped you edit this paper, didn't you? Where right now we're questioning students and saying, I think you used AI to do this, you're cheating. So it's a really big conversation, but it has to do with equity.
One thing we want to be sure to talk about is transparency and making sure that we're letting people know when we are using their ideas or we are having somebody edit or we're getting new ideas. So citing AI use, there are proper MLA APA styles where you can cite the use. If you notice at the very beginning of our presentation, there was a note that AI was used to help us summarize some of our thoughts and create this slide deck. So we're sharing that both with our educators and with students that they know that being transparent, open, and sharing where they're getting their ideas from is very important.
And so with all this work that we've done to try and figure out how this, Ed and I were talking last year, it's like, what's going to be the next thing in technology that we're going to have to, nothing's really changed. And then last February, ChatGPT came out, and it's like, oh, there it is. And so, working, it's like, okay, what are our guidelines for this? So to understand that AI is a tool, it should not be replaced or used to replace human judgment. It should align with your goals in either education, as a learning goal, or as a workspace goal. To understand it can be biased. It can hallucinate and make up information. It's also a platform that needs to be vetted by us in the district so that we're looking at the individual things when teachers are saying, I'd like to use this tool that has AI, that we can bring it in and make sure that it can be shared in such a way, and we've vetted it so it's not opened up to everybody. There's some controls. It should use to promote fairness, I think I had trouble with this talking to inclusivity. Thank you. And diversity. So that encouraging all sorts of different diverse ways to use it. Never to provide identifying data with it. Never send in, if you're going to send in a student's paper or you're going to send in parents' emails that you want to write or whatever, or board minutes, or you don't provide identifying information to keep it separate from that learning model. And also just to cite the use of it so that, it's not a bad thing that we're starting to use it, that it's part of something that we do. These notes were transcribed using AI, or these are summaries of the notes that were transcribed from something, so that it's out there.
So we want to provide this tool to you, and that's how this came up. The board had asked, is this a tool? Is there a tool that we could use? So we have provided both to our staff and to our educators Google Gemini. We're under quite a few agreements with Google, and they've offered Google Gemini, and we believe it's actually one of the better AI tools that can be used. One of the things I really like is the fact that it uses up-to-date information when you're chatting with it, where some of the other models, they cut off at 2022, 2023. Google updates daily with current events and things that you might be interested in learning more about in summary. So we're excited to share that with you. Tomorrow morning, you'll get an email from me with the link to go ahead and take the agreement to look at the agreement, mark off what that you agree with the proper use of AI, and you'll be given the opportunity to use that tool in your work as a board member. So we're excited to share that with you. And we're thankful that you're a board that allows us to step out and try new things in technology. It's always been that way for the past 10 to 15 years. And we're excited that even on this precipice of the new next thing in technology, that we're able to support our educators and most importantly our students with being prepared for jobs that are just being created now by AI, actually. And to close, we do like to do some fun things with AI, both from getting recipes to editing our papers to writing limericks. We had a competition here in the district office about limericks, and so I asked Gemini earlier today if they could write me a school board limerick. So I wanted to share that with you. With a focus so perfectly placed, the school board, with excellent taste, made choices so bright, for students took flight, and their futures with knowledge they graced. So, thank you, Gemini, for a limerick.
Any questions?
Can you flip back to the citation slide?
Sure.
That one.
Yep.
So I see how you cite it in MLA over there underneath reference.
Mm-hmm.
And if a student is doing all of their research for, say, a research paper by asking ChatGPT or Gemini or whoever about that information, tell me all about Christopher Columbus. How then can the teacher, and that's the only citation they use as their source. Well, I got it all from ChatGPT. I mean, how does a teacher follow up on that? Because they don't know where that information came from.
And that's the part with it is use it as a research assistant. So we teach the students how to go out and get research information and then use the AI model to help us to manage that and pull out the information, help us to understand it a little bit better, rather than using an AI as the source of the information. Because if they know that it's not correct, then as a source, it's definitely, yes.
Brother, bring back the card catalog. I mean, I see teachers that are quite literally moving backwards technologically in the classroom to avoid their students using AI in an appropriate manner.
Yeah.
One example of that is teachers who are requiring students to handwrite everything.
Blue book. Bring the blue books back,
Yeah.
right? No, I think that's a good point. And one thing that we think the better AI tools and models do is they source where they're getting the information from. So you'll notice that with Gemini that there's a source there. Also with the beta tool that we're using, sandbox.chat, the student can actually share their prompts and the conversation with the teacher through a link, which is kind of cool. And then to be able to see the sources as well captured in one link together.
A lot of the software that's being developed right now that's using AI for education is developing these sandbox type environments for the students because there are some age restrictions. Gemini is 18 plus at this moment. We can't give it to students. ChatGPT is now 13 plus, but it's not a really great environment to be in. So they're using this and they're allowing then the kids within it, once the kids go in, that's sharing out the conversation that they're having. And they're giving them tools to know, this is a question I asked, this is what I got, this is how I used it. So to help the teachers to have that access and see it as a learning tool.
Well, I think it's impressive that you guys are tackling this. I think it's exploding and trying to keep up with it and trying to keep it under control in our school district, and maybe under control is the wrong term, I think is a task that I'm glad I don't have. And I think I retired.
I'm working with the California School Boards Association right now on their AI work group, and we're putting together model policies for school boards to consider. So I'm working on a team that'll be working with a lot of school boards, helping them understand, what are some of the policy implications and what do we want to make sure we uphold. AI is another tech tool, just as you said. There's a lot of tech tools. Educators have had to struggle with document cameras, whiteboards, all the things through the years. Remember when Encyclopedia Britannica was on a CD-ROM? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do now that they can access it through CD-ROM, right? Spell checking. So this is another iteration of that, and we'll get through it. However, the policies you already have in place do cover things like already academic integrity, safe and appropriate alternate use, those sorts of things. And that's the kind of things we're struggling with CSBA, is a lot of the policy we already have does cover it, but we just want to pay attention to some of the new things that are coming up with this current era of AI.
And unfortunately, this is the worst it's ever going to be, the AI. It's getting better and better, faster and faster as it learns, and it's being integrated into everything that we're doing. We talked about, the teachers talked about how Canva already has it built into the software. So yeah, we have to do something about it because it's already here and it's getting better every day.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Trustee Nishimori, do you have any questions or comments?
Just thanks for the presentation and bringing us up to speed. I think, asking students how they use it is super helpful because oftentimes they know well before any of the rest of us what's going on. And I see it as, good and bad, right? Because it's such a huge opportunity. And for people who do need like that personal assistant side of things, a different way to learn, it really does provide sort of that different ability. So there's a lot of equity that I see happening with it, but there's also sort of the fear side of it too, of like, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So at some point, it'll kind of collide and, we'll learn and that's just sort of the history of education in itself. So exciting, but optimistically excited about it. Yeah, but thanks for the presentation.
You're welcome.
How about you?
I'm all good, thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks, Kirsten.
So I'm super excited to get this presentation. I feel like it honors Mr. Galen Larson, too. But anyway, so my question is, just to clarify, if a teacher is using AI, do we know it? Does somebody at this table, are they aware that that's how they are creating curriculum or quizzes?
If, as much as we know, a teacher's using any curricular, any tool in the classroom. So some we do know, there's adopted curriculum. They use that to develop lessons. Other teachers use Teachers Pay Teachers. They do their own research. We do know the teachers that have, we are providing a tool. We want to make sure the tool that we do provide is safe and secure. And we say this is the better tool to use because we have agreements with Google. We're protected with those things. So our hope is that teachers would use the tools that we provide or that we have approved. We do have a tech policy so that when teachers do use tools in the classroom that we have to go through a vetting process. And a lot of times we can approve those. Other times we can't because we don't have an agreement with that vendor or they don't use data appropriately. So we want to make sure that that's the case. So yes and no. But I uphold the fact that our teachers are following the policies and the protocols that we put in place.
Right, just like in anything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Ed, what did we see last time we looked at, it was 7, how many teachers and how many students had actually logged into ChatGTP? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I don't remember.
You remember?
Yeah.
We do have that, we don't
Yeah.
know exactly who, but it
We can
was,
see
it
that,
was
like, how
like
many have gone to the
320 students, and I think there were like 30 teachers or something like
Yeah.
that who had actually logged into the ChatGPT.
We do have one with our school board on board as well. We'll have over 100 staff and educators that have agreed to use Gemini and use it appropriately.
And then just, I think I heard you say when a student uses it, which kind of piggybacks to your question, when a student uses it, they just reference their resource material as if they were referencing a book or an author or a paper.
I would say it would depend on the lesson or what the teacher is doing in the classroom.
Yeah,
So they might be teaching a lesson on, we have teachers that have done lessons on prompting. And so, they're just starting with the AI itself. And then how is it different when you actually write something and then say, how did I write this? How could I make it better? Okay, maybe you could use better transitions or be more clear about X. So there are other opportunities. It just depends on the lesson, I would say, that how they might be sourcing or citing their work.
So it's really just an unscary way to look at it is just an additional resource.
Mm-hmm.
But we are also kind of guiding these students out of the
It's a
district.
powerful one.
Right, so those guidelines that you shared with us, is
Mm-hmm.
that kind of like a class norm? Do the students see that? Or teaching them to put themselves at the center of that product?
We do not have, go ahead.
Yeah, because we do not have a system that is, we can legally give to the students within the school district. We don't have, so they can access Chat GPT by themselves, just by putting in their accounts. But we don't have, it's 18 plus for Gemini and stuff like that. So the students, we can kind of talk to them about it, give them some AI literacy at this moment.
Right.
But actually asking them to, we're kind of hands tied right now at this point in time until there's some more available use.
And we're able to pilot, like I said, we've been piloting with sandbox.chat, and he's given us the agreements needed that we could move forward to use with some of our students on a smaller scale. But our hope is that we move into the fall that we'll have multiple tools that either our students can use or our teachers can use to use AI safely and appropriately. But it's already being built into some of the tools we already use. Like Michael's going up to Donner Trail tomorrow to work with Canva. Canva has a whole AI product built into the tool. It's already safe for our students to use. So I think they're already using it in ways without necessarily like the front end like you might be used to with ChatGPT or Gemini.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
There will be some norms, and then when the teachers are having
Yeah.
to figure out how it's being used.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then next, educational services?
Yes, we are going to turn to our Assistant Superintendent, Mrs. Logan Maloney.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. Clerk Hennessy and Board of Trustees, Ed Services is excited to share that after a comprehensive evaluation process, the Eureka Math Squared and Carnegie Math curriculum is being recommended to the TTUSD Board of Trustees for adoption in the 2024-2025 academic year. I want to introduce and ask them to stand at the podium. Heidi Pruitt, ACMS math teacher, representing secondary, and Erica Allstott, Donner Trail 4th and 5th grade teacher representing elementary from the Math Steering Committee. They will be available after this short presentation of the adoption process for questions. Pending your approval, Eureka Math Squared will be utilized in all TTUSD elementary schools, and Carnegie Math will be used in all TTUSD middle and high schools. This recommendation was made by a dedicated committee of experienced TTUSD math teachers and administrators who spent the past year and a half evaluating results and identifying trends observed while piloting the curricula this school year. They incorporated feedback from teachers, parents, and students and evaluated assessment data and correlations between state assessments like the CASP that measure student learning and effectiveness. All of this information, along with the committee's robust expertise in math education, thank you again, help them make an informed decision that best aligns with our students' needs and learning goals. Ultimately, the committee made this recommendation because they feel the new curriculum will more effectively support student mastery of math content and provide a clear and coherent progression of necessary concepts. We would like to thank and recognize the members of this teacher committee who should be upheld as content experts. It was a difficult and complex process, and they demonstrated tremendous care, thoughtfulness, and open-mindedness. This infographic in front of you provides a review of the adoption process, including a timeline outlining significant progress and links to communications families received along the way in the entire year-and-a-half process. After the first reads of the proposed instructional materials are presented tonight, there is a 30-day period for public review of all materials. Materials can be reviewed at the receptionist desk at the district office. Thank you to all T2SD partners, Superintendent Kramer for starting this adoption process in your previous role, and Board of Trustees for supporting the Math Committee throughout this process and for sharing your honest feedback. We truly value your input and appreciate our community's commitment to providing the most effective materials to our teachers and students. So with that, I will turn it over to our teacher experts. Are there any questions from the board?
No questions, but I really appreciate your participation on this committee because I know it was a big time commitment and you're the experts, so we appreciate having that skill set to provide to us to make sure our students are learning.
Yeah, as we've been visiting sites, it's been a hot topic of conversation and comments, and when we've been in the math classes, everyone has a comment or a thought on there. So thank you for your time and your recommendation.
Yeah, I just want to say for Carnegie that the lens of equity was really upheld and including all stakeholders. And having taught CPM and now piloting several, we piloted, field tested 4 before we started our official pilot. And that equity of access is really upheld in the Carnegie curriculum, and I love using it in the classroom for both curriculums.
And I think your microphone needs to be on as well. Thank you. And just to speak to what they both brought up, the TTUSD mathematics local priorities do include that lens of equity, and that the curriculum comes in both English and Spanish, which we'll go to and talk to in our first reads. But that was such the lens that they used to choose which curriculum to even field test before pilot.
Okay, well, thank you, and I'm sorry that we ran so late tonight. Thank you for being so patient. And yep, I feel the same way. Anything else?
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
So I thought you guys were going to like present something. I don't know. Okay, sorry about that. I missed, but I do have a question. How, other than the textbooks being written in both English and Spanish, how else is equity achieved or at least attempted through this curriculum?
Oh, no, we didn't turn it on. I'll speak to the Eureka Squared. So I think the previous curriculum spiraled at standards, meaning that it would keep coming around to the standard strands. And with absentee issues and things like that, we would struggle with student mastery. It also didn't align to a clear progression of learning of mathematics standards. So students were constantly struggling with making connections and coming back to how it applies to them in the real world because they couldn't make those connections. The current curriculum follows a clear, coherent way of learning the math, and students, even in my 5th grade, are able to tell me, that's what I learned in 2nd grade, you're just expanding on it now, right? So they're able to make those connections on their own without us trying to bring it around to them every time. The curriculum also in the Eureka Squared math allows multiple opportunities for teachers to make choices based on their students in the classroom. So there's fluency options that they can do at the beginning of the lesson. They don't have to do all of them. There are options there for, depending on what their students need to work on. The lessons have multiple points of entry, and the practice has 4 different levels of depths of knowledge to them as they're practicing, so you can differentiate within the actual lesson itself and what practice problems the kids are going to do. The vocabulary is embedded into the curriculum, as are the math practices to it. So students are hearing the language from kindergarten, and it aligns up through 5th grade. So they've been hearing it throughout, which I think is a bonus program.
Yeah, and one of the things we looked at too is how the elementary curriculum aligns with the secondary curriculum, which continues with all of the points that she just shared, that it's a progressive, logical sequence of domains in mathematics. All the language is very universal of mathematics, so it's very, it translates really well.
In terms of having newcomers in the classroom, long-term English language learners, I have several in my classes, and I have all the materials I need. It's readily available. We also have a cognitive tutor. Instead of the homework that was just done at home and then a lot of time spent making sure they did that and having them self-correct and give feedback, they have a cognitive tutor for that. And the students are able to access that in Spanish as well as English. And it's an incredible tool. The more I use it, the more I love it. The students love it. They get immediate feedback when they enter something incorrectly. And then they have another problem to try. And so I can see exactly where they are. They know where they are. I can see how many problems it took them to master something. And so it's that equity piece and so many entry points for students, and that progression to higher level thinking is available to everyone. So those stretch problems are embedded, and they're really given that logical building sequence to be able to solve more complex problems that they haven't seen before. So seeing the light bulbs go off in 7th grade math is so exciting every day.
I'll bet.
Yeah. And the language piece is just tremendous to be able to give my students that are newcomers, both of them, in English and Spanish, and see them making those connections. And in the academic discourse that we hold up, seeing them use the English when they've only been at our school for a month in a conversation, because they have those tools in front of them, is really exciting.
Great, thank you. And if I heard you correctly, I think you mentioned that it seems like there was some discussion or preparation or on vertical, maybe not alignment, but articulation between the two different, because they're different publishers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's something we considered in the piloting process when we looked at elementary and we looked at the options that we had, which were all looking at more clear, coherent progression of knowledge for math. All of them were those options, that these two blended together, merged together really well. Our elementary curriculum went from having many strategies, which a lot of students had a hard time when you just threw more at them and not mastering all of them or not sure where that kind of goes for them. The progression of strategies are focused and pivotal, and then they stretch into the middle school and the high school. So the kids that are learning the area model in 3rd grade are still building upon that and pulling from that when they get into middle school, and they have that language because it's been built throughout. They're just applying it in different ways. So it's more meaningful and purposeful of how they're integrating their math from our age level to their age level, which is what we considered when we put the two together.
And if I could jump way back, Erica, to what you said earlier regarding spiraling versus connections, right? And so I think you explained the difference pretty clearly, but I guess my question is, how long have we been teaching math in sort of a spiral, I don't know what the pedagogy or
Spiraling curriculum.
style. I don't know.
Yeah. Since our last adoption for sure, so that's over 7 years.
Okay, so then my next question then would be, do we have math teachers who need to be, like some deep training to use this curriculum?
Thank you
do
so
we have
much.
a plan for that?
Thank you so much for asking. Yes.
But I don't think just, like, this is my personal, but I don't think just any curriculum, and I've spoke to this, we've talked about this at our meetings, that I think that we're looking at the science of reading, and we need to look at, especially for elementary school teachers who are not trained mathematicians, the science of math and why we go about math the way we need to go about math, because I didn't understand it until I went to workshops with NCTM and Achieve the Core and met with a higher level of, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And I'm lucky to have Amy King as my principal as a 5th grade teacher. She was a 6th grade teacher of how do I eliminate, what don't I need, what do I need, how do I know what they're going to need next, and being able to have that vertical alignment and knowing the why. I think that was the trouble with a spiral, at least for me as a teacher, is my kids never knew the why. They were just trying to constantly recall from the past, and they were trying to participate, but they weren't really knowing why we were doing what we're doing, how it worked, and where it's going to take them next. And I think that for me, it's showing up already. I think teachers need time to sit in a new curriculum and figure it out and how does it apply to my kids. But I think as an overarching piece that we need to approach math the same way we approach reading as a district.
Thank you so
And
much.
I just want to point out too that this Carnegie does spiral in the practice. So you'll see in the text that there's mixed practice problem sets for the students. So although the curriculum itself and the lessons are very logical and they know what domain they're focusing in, they're still making those connections and practicing everything they've learned regularly. So having that distinction is really beneficial for the students.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all that information. I really do.
And I just want to point out, after the final decision of the board, to answer your question, Trustee Mooney, absolutely. Not only will we ensure that all instructional materials will be ordered before the fall, including manipulatives and any instructional materials like Heidi spoke to, having all of them available to be able to be trained as Eureka Math Squared and Carnegie Math intends to implement the materials. So we want to truly use this adapted curriculum and evaluate our theory rather than go straight to program failure and continue to gather that data. We have established, once and if approved, a professional development plan with both Eureka Math Squared and Carnegie to include on-site coaching visits from Carnegie experts, virtual office hours, release days for teachers, and then actual training on the program itself, including a menu where some teachers might be ready to use it in different ways. Other teachers might be at that lower level. So we will be scaffolding their training as well, working with both publishers. And those were the two most important asks of not only the committee, but also from the teacher survey. So materials, training.
How long do we plan on keeping this curriculum?
We are doing this before a State Board of Education changes the adoption process. That is happening soon with the math frameworks, and so we're ahead of the game, and we ensured that this curriculum meets all of those new requirements coming. And so each process is different for every curriculum, and so like Heidi said, we had the previous curriculum, at least 7 years, so it is usually a 7-year cycle. But we will be evaluating, and parents ask for that after we put that first feedback out, is to say, okay, we trust our teachers, but tell us why. What's the difference between this program and that program? So we will be able to offer that as we continue forward too.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, next is a first read board policy.
Yes, Mrs. Maloney.
Good night, ladies.
Okay, thank you. Are we on 15.2? Thank you. So this is now the first read of the adoption for K through 5 math instructional materials. As I presented for background, after a 1.5-year process, the TTUSD Math Steering Committee recommends to the board to adopt the following instructional materials for K through 5 math. Great Minds, PBC 2021, Eureka Math Squared, Spanish, Learn, K through 5, modules 1 through 6. Great Minds, PBC 2021, Eureka Math Squared, English, Learn, K through 5, modules 1 through 6. The modules that are sitting in front of you are structured in a coherent manner that helps students develop a deep understanding of mathematical concepts and principles. Those materials are available for the required 30-day period for public review of proposed materials, and they can be reviewed at the receptionist desk at the district office. This item is informational only and will be brought back after the 30-day review for approval. Are there any questions from the board? Okay. The secondary representatives from the Math Steering Committee recommend the adoption of the following instructional materials: Carnegie Learning 2022, Math Book English and Spanish for MSM 1 through 3 for 6th through 8th grades, and IM 1 through 3, 9th through 12th grades. Carnegie Math emphasizes the spiraling mastery of targeted practices rather than spiraling concepts before mastery. Students focusing on mastering specific mathematical practices before moving on to more complex concepts. By doing so, they build a strong foundation of mathematical skills that will serve them well in their future studies and careers. These materials are also available at the district office for the 30-day review. This is informational only and will be brought back for approval. Any questions?
Any questions? No. Okay, great. Thank you. And sorry I skipped over those 2 points under the educational services presentation. My apologies. All right.
And then we will still be turning to Mrs. Maloney for our 2 first reads on policy.
I'm presenting the first read of the proposed revisions to Board Policy 1312.2, Administrative Regulation 1312.2, and Exhibit 1312.2. This is complaints concerning instructional materials. The policy has been updated to reflect new law, AB 1078, which 1, requires the California Department of Education to develop by July 1st, 2025, guidance in public educational materials to ensure that all Californians can access information about educational laws and all policies that safeguard the right to an accurate and inclusive curriculum. 2, clarifies when it is unlawful discrimination for the governing board to refuse to approve the use or prohibit the use of any textbook, instructional material, supplemental instructional material, or other curriculum for classroom instruction, or any book or resource in a school library. 3, provides that complaints alleging discrimination related to the use or prohibited use of any textbook, instructional material, supplemental instructional material, or other curriculum for classroom instruction, or any book or resource in a school library may be brought under the district's uniform complaint procedures or may be directly filed with the superintendent of public instruction. And 4, requires the CDE to issue by July 1st, 2025, guidance regarding how to review instructional materials to ensure that they represent diverse perspectives and are culturally relevant. The policy was also updated to expand and amend the criteria to be considered when instructional or library materials are being challenged, and to provide that, unless required by law, any challenged material reviewed by the district will not be subject to further reconsideration for 12 months. The exhibit has been updated to specify that the request for reconsideration of existing instructional materials form is for use when challenging the content of any existing textbook, instructional material, supplemental instructional material, or other curriculum for classroom instruction, or any book or other resource in the school library. The exhibit was also updated to accommodate digital instructional materials, merge portions of the form that are content-related, and change from a checklist to an open-ended response to the portion regarding complainant's preference for what should be done about a challenged instructional material. This policy will be brought back for action next month. Are there any questions?
Questions from the board?
So I read through all these materials, and I couldn't find the answer anywhere, but I may have missed it. And it's possible you may have just answered it. I didn't, but I'm looking at item number 2, and when the new law clarifies when it is unlawful discrimination for the governing board to refuse to approve the use or prohibit the use of any textbook. when is it unlawful? When is that, like, can that be clarified? I couldn't find any information on that.
It can be, and I can look further into it
Okay.
for you. Yep.
I don't plan on doing that, but I'm just curious, information-wise,
Sure.
what that is, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. And the last item on our agenda is comments of board members.
Oh,
Did
I
I
have
miss
one more.
another one? I'm
Sorry.
so sorry.
No. We do have 19.6, but it's a short
Oh,
one
I'm so
because you're
sorry.
very used to. That is okay. The exhibit, there's proposed revisions for the Williams Uniform Complaint Procedures. This new law and information was provided to the board in the fall when we completed our last Williams public hearing and had a Williams visit with no findings. So as stated in 19.5 above, with those policy revisions, the date has been updated as well as the complaint documents to reflect this new law, AB 1078. So this will be brought back next month as well. Are there any questions?
Okay, now then. Powering through. Any board comments from our remaining board members?
I have no comments tonight, thank you.
None other than I think we all enjoyed our Kings Beach Elementary school tour, and having students lead the tour was super fun again. And it's always nice when we get all 5 of us together because that's pretty rare. So that was really exciting and fun to go to, and I enjoyed that one a lot, yeah.
That's all I was going to mention, is what a great school tour led by proud 5th graders. So thank you for mentioning that, and you all, thank you so much. I know it's a huge, long day for you, so thank you. And meeting is adjourned.